7 o'clock. It's time to start the meeting. Thank you all for attending this evening. Nice to see a pretty good crowd for a second night. See if I can get my mic to work a little bit better. We don't do the whole opening ceremonies quite like we do on the first night and the second night, but there are a few things I want to note. First of all, again, as we said last night, the emergency exits are not necessarily the entrance that you came through. So be aware of where the emergency exits are. I can look like I'm a flight attendant pointing them out. Can anybody hear me? Anybody have a problem? I'm speaking, so if you can't hear me, you should raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Again, there's no food or coffee in the room. Only water is allowed in the auditorium. So if you've got food or water, please do not partake of that. We have a number of out-of-town attendees. The non-resident section is that section over on the left, just so everybody's clear. I have several non-resident attendees. Mostly they are town officials that want to sit with their boards. I'm going to read their names. If you can stand up, and then I'm going to ask town meeting to approve having you stay with your board. First of all, Rod Procaccino, Sean Patterson, Mike DeMeo, Michael LaSelva, Robert Matthew Forte, Jay McGillis, Cindy Marcoux, Jenna Gillis, Colin Kennelly, Karen Paulette, Meg LeMay, David Hennig, Amy Coughlin, and Paul Shealy, I think, or Shealy, who is going to be the backup for the citizens petition article about the brewery down at Brant Rock. He's the brewer. So I'd like the town meeting's approval of leaving all these people on the floor. Please raise your hand. All those opposed? Yes. Yes. And Jeff Granatino, who is here for his last town meeting, hopefully. I don't know if today will be the last day, but I'm hoping that we can get through we've got 7 articles still to go in the special, and we've got 19 in the annual, although some of them will be in a consent agenda. So we'll see if we can get through tonight's meeting with any luck. We do have tellers. I'd like the tellers to stand, please, so everybody knows who's going to be counting them at the end of the night if we get to a standing vote. Section A is Anne Marie Sinnott. Section B is Barbara Carney. Section C is Anne Marie Sacchetti. Section D is Kevin Robinson. Section E is Andy Wenig. And Nerese Casper will count the stage. So if we get to a standing vote, those people will be directing you in the vote. Again, as I said last night, if you're here for the first night of town meeting, there was a blue errata sheet out there with the warrants and all the other paperwork out front. It's just outlining some clerical errors in the warrant and the motions. So if you've got that sheet, you can just double check if there's something different in the warrant. You're going to probably find it in that errata sheet. So that being said, we'll resume our meeting from last night. And we're in the special town meeting. We have Article 17 on the floor, and Article 11 is on deck. Article 17, the Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to increase the FY 2024 wastewater residual waste appropriation by the sum of $120,000 from $141,859 to $261,859 for additional wastewater residual waste. Account 7005200-528000, funding to meet said appropriation, transfer said sum from wastewater enterprise retained earnings, said funds to be expended under the direction of the Superintendent of Public Works and the general supervision of the Board of Public Works. This is going to be a majority vote. Mr. Patterson.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator.
Yep.
The purpose of this article is to offset the additional costs due to the increase of doing business trying to dispose of the waste and the limited amount of sites we had to bring the waste to.
Okay. Mr. McLear from the Planning Board? I'm sorry, the Advisory Board. I said Planning Board.
Winslow. Don McAleer, Winslow Cemetery Road. Advisory Board recommends approval of this article. This is due to the unexpected rise in the process of residual disposal.
Okay. This is going to be a majority vote. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of Article 17, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 17 passes. Article 11 is up, and who's on deck? And Article 16 is on deck. Article 11, the Select Board moves that the town vote to amend Article 5 of the October 17, 2022 Special Town Meeting, Item 24, Library Rug and Asbestos Removal, and authorize the sum of $113,606.48 originally appropriated for said work to be reappropriated and expended on the library's electric generator and gear project. And this is submitted by the Select Board. It's going to be a majority vote. Mr. Moresco for the Select Board.
Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. This article, just so folks know, as you know, we built a new police station. There was a generator there. We took the generator that was about 7 or 8 years old. We moved it to the library because we use the library for a warming and a cooling center when power goes out during storms. Last year, we put new rug. We had to do asbestos removal in the library to modernize it. There were funds left over. We are now asking to have those funds reappropriated to cover the cost of the installation of the generator. When you put a generator into an older building, you have to do an upgrade to the electrical, the gearbox, the main piano, or the switchboard. If we had like in our house, had to be updated. So facility department will need this funds to get that up and running. So we hope the town meeting will support this article.
Thank you. Advisory Board, Brian Crowley.
South River. The board unanimously votes to support this article.
Okay. Again, this is going to be a majority vote. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, I'll go to a vote. All those in favor of Article 11, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 11 passes. Who's on deck? No. Who's next? 15. 16 is up. And then we'll go to 15. Article 16, the Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $100,000 for the purpose of conducting aquifer studies and groundwater investigation related to the town's municipal water supplies, and to meet this appropriation, transfer the sum of $100,000 from Water Enterprise retained earnings, said funds to be expended under the general direction of the Superintendent of Public Works and the general supervision of the Board of Public Works. And this is going to be a majority vote. Mr. Patterson.
Mr. Moria, this article is for some of the town's municipal wells that are allegedly impacted by residential development, which if true could threaten the quality of a portion of the town's drinking water. These funds will be used to identify possible contamination and predict future treatment requirements.
Okay, thank you. From the Advisory Board, Sherry Costello.
Sherry Costello, Freshbrook Way. By conducting this study, the DPW is being proactive in protecting the town's water supply. The Advisory Board recommends approval of this article.
Okay. Discussion from the floor, rear microphone.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. Don't want to slow things down. We're moving right along. But $100,000, it sounds kind of light. Could you give me any more information now or maybe in a couple of days, whatever? Like, where is this study going to be focused, and what is the scope of it?
Mr.
Mr.
Moran?
Patterson.
Yes, I can. Right now, we took money out of our operating budget to conduct tests on the wells to determine the flow, which way the wells are going in the aquifer. And this money is to replace that and to also continue doing testing on the wells in the future.
Could I find out what wells and what aquifer? Because we've got, it's
How about all of them?
Yep, I get,
all of them? The entire town?
Correct.
I just don't think that's enough money.
It's a good start.
It's a start. Okay, it's a start. I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
okay. Gentleman at the rear microphone.
Brian Smith, 79 Magoon Path. Is this the same contract to review the ZBA experts' work that the DPW said that they had money for?
Mr. Patterson.
Is it or no? I don't believe it is.
Was this study, or, hold on. Was this, is this actually studied, did they study this issue before in 2014, and then we're reevaluating it now?
I don't really understand the question, do you?
No, I don't.
If you can repeat the question, I just couldn't
Was-
understand what it was.
Was this study done before in 2014, or similar?
Was the study done before 2014? Is that
I honestly can't answer that because I wasn't here.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Okay. Seeing nobody else at the microphones, I'm going to call for a vote. Again, this is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 16, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 16 passes. Article 15 is up, and Article 15, the Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $600,000 for the purpose of defraying the costs related to solid waste, wastewater, and water operations, and to meet this appropriation, transfer the sum of $100,000 from solid waste retained earnings, $200,000 from wastewater retained earnings, and $300,000 from water retained earnings. Mr. Patterson.
Mr. Moderator, these offset amounts are required to meet the FY24 budgetary commitments.
That was short and sweet. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, oh, I'm sorry, from Advisory Board, Don McAleer.
The advisory board recommends approval of this article. We're just setting this money aside to defray expenses, standard housekeeping.
Okay, thank you. So I don't see anybody at the mics. We'll go to a vote. Again, majority vote. All those in favor of Article 15, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 15 passes. We are on to Article 6. Yep. Article 6, the Select Board moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $3,309,510 to pay the cost of the items listed in the chart set forth in Article 6 of the April 22, 2024 special town meeting warrant, and to meet said appropriations, transfer said sum from free cash. This is going to be a majority vote. Mr. Moresco.
Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. This is the free cash article. As you will see, there are a number of projects on here, from new bathrooms and locker rooms at the main fire station, police cars, school resource offices, and police certification. We have assessors union position, town clerk union position, grave buyback, DPW purchase, for a new pothole machine, financial consultants, Green Harbor Beach Nourishment Match, Veteran Park Grant Match dam removal, Council on Aging cleaning contract, facility cleaning contract, facility generator maintenance for all of our generators, and a partial contribution towards the English language arts K through 5 new curriculum.
Okay. Brian Crowley from the advisory board.
Brian Crowley, 430 South River. The advisory board unanimously votes to support this article and the various components that Michael described.
Okay. This is going to be a majority vote. Nobody's at the mic, so I'm going to go to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Well, you weren't at the mic.
It's kind of a point of order. Usually on articles like this, the moderator will go down the list and ask if there's any questions on individual items.
My motion didn't have it that way. Do you have any questions on any of those items?
Yes.
Okay. Bear with me here for a moment. Do you want me to read the list, or do you have anything in particular that you think at this point? Well, I can read the list. Bathroom, locker rooms, Marshfield Fire, I believe. Article 8 of Fall's Special Town Meeting, $2,413,145.
Yeah, question on that.
Okay. Okay, that item was withdrawn. What? Number 3 is the FY24 budget adjustment of $385,000.
Question.
Police cars, $185,000. Police certification costs, SRO, for $250,000. Schools summer pay issue, that's withdrawn. Assessors union position adjustment supervisory, $3,100. Town clerk union position adjustment supervisory, $3,100. DPW grave buyback, $1,400. DPW purchase premix heater pothole repair, $65,000. Financial consultants, $500,000. Okay, question on that? Green Harbor Beach Nourishment Match, $350,000. Veteran Park Grant Match dam removal, $650,000. COA cleaning contract, $12,000. Facility cleaning contract, $67,950. Facility generator maintenance, $24,960. English language curriculum English language arts K through 5 curriculum, $250,000.
Question.
Okay. So we'll take the question items. The first one that was questioned was the FY24 budget adjustment.
Michael,
What's the question?
We're trying to find, some of us are trying to find out what is that? What's being adjusted, and what are those numbers in the last column transfer to? What do those refer to? What is that reference?
I believe the numbers are the account to which it gets transferred, but as far as what it is, Mr. Maresco, can you answer that question?
Mr. Moderator, yes, I can. That is an adjustment for the FY24 budget. So when the FY24 budget was put together, there was money, so let me just back up. So as folks know, we're going through a major munis conversion. So going through the conversion, we used two of our softwares, Zobrio, which was one of the softwares, and another software. And when you try to pull the information into munis, some information didn't get carried over. So when they were closing out FY23, our new treasurer and new, soon-to-be new town accountant, noticed that there was a shortfall. Money was pulled from accounts that didn't have sufficient balances. So that tallies up to $385,000. So that is an adjustment to the FY24 budget.
If I might find out, money was the statement was that the money was withdrawn from certain accounts. We talking what kind of accounts, like revolving funds or what?
Can you answer that?
Yes, Mr. Moderator. So regular line items. So when the budget's constructed, we pull all the revenues down. So as you know, 75% of our money comes from real estate tax, and the rest comes from local receipts. When they put the recipe together, for lack of a better word, and they pull the revenues in, revenues were pulled from accounts that didn't have sufficient amounts of money. So for instance, I don't remember which account had what, but one of them, they may have pulled down 150,000, it was only 100,000. So when they were going through making the adjustments for 23, they noticed the shortfall, so we're here to cover those shortfalls.
I'm not going to belabor it, but that really doesn't help a lot. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the FY budget adjustment? No? Okay. Well, the next thing that was questioned was the financial consultants for $500,000. Who's speaking on the financial consultants? Or who has
Mr.
that
Moderator,
question?
yep. So for
Well,
the...
wait, let me find out who questioned it first. Who questioned the financial consultants?
He's going to explain it, that's...
If you can give your name and address, please.
Bonnie McCarthy, 83 Donald Road.
Okay,
We
thank
just
you.
wanted some clarification, that's a
Sure.
$500,000 on who's consulting financially.
Mr. Maresco.
Yes, Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. So we had two consultants in. Why we didn't have a treasurer, as everyone knows, our treasurer, collector, Lisa Clark, and our town accountant, Ann Bastille, no longer part of the town of Marshfield. We brought in CLA, who's been here off and on. Actually, when Christine McCarthy was here, we had CLA assisting her, and they take the role on as the town accountant. And then we had Eric Kinshaw, who's been helped the town out over the years, over the last 20 years. They were both in. Their bills right now come to about $430,000. And so, we don't have that money in our line items, so we're asking for free cash to cover that expense.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Moderator, a point of order. I believe there was a question on item 6, school summer pay issue. Thank you.
No, that was withdrawn.
Oh, that was withdrawn.
Yeah.
The
The schools had withdrawn that.
And item number 2 was also withdrawn?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the last one we had questioned was item 17, which is the English Language Arts K through 5 curriculum for $250,000. Who questioned that? Okay,
Mr. Moderator, maybe there's somebody from the school department.
there you go.
Thank you.
Ask and you shall receive. Mr. Granatino.
Yes, Mr. Moderator, what is the question? I'm sorry.
What is it? And was it precipitated by any particular event or any lack of foresight or omission, or how did it happen that we now have to dip in to our free cash?
No, actually, this is done with a lot of foresight. This was the first time in 10 years that we've had a new literacy program. And bear with me, folks, I'm sorry. I had oral surgery about a month ago, and I have a mouthpiece, so if I garble a little bit, just be patient. I'll do my best. So our last program, Mr. Pasevich, was 10 years ago, Journeys, and it's been in place, but it's just not kept up with the times. We are looking for a new program. We had a group of 30 educators, teachers, literacy coaches, our reading specialists, our special education teachers, administrators worked for like the last 6 months looking at different programs that are being used around the state, around the country really. And we wanted to make sure that we had a program that aligned best with the standards at the state and gave our kids an opportunity to access the curriculum in a positive fashion. So this program, this is only going to cover about half of the program. There was a number of different programs they looked at, about 5 of them. The one that we're going with, and so I'm just looking at my notes here, is EL education through Imagine Learning. It's a program that's used in a number of districts around the region, but it costs about $500,000, so this will cover half. Dr. Martin, our assistant superintendent, has secured a grant. It's not a huge grant, but that grant money will go towards it, and we'll try to encumber the rest of that within our operating budget. But they spent a few months looking at different programs. They whittled it down to 2, and they field tested it in the classroom, both from K to 2 and then 3, 4, and 5. Teachers were able to give feedback. Students gave feedback. It was very similar. We did this we didn't have to come to the town meeting 2 years ago when we had our new math program, because that was also done through a grant that Dr. Martin was able to secure. So this one, we couldn't get a full grant to cover it, but it went through the same process that we did with the math program that we have now, and it's a great program that's reaping its benefits. So that is what this is for. And again, it's not because of any error or anything that wasn't done. It's just we had a program that worked well for us for 10 years, but we needed to update it, and this is going to do that.
And if I may find out again, there was a reference to EL something or other.
Yeah, EL, the name of the program.
Is there a name of a program?
Yeah, the program is called EL, Education Through Imagine Learning.
Education Through Imagine Learning.
Yes.
Okay. But is there also a competing program that you're looking at? Because you field tested too.
We did, yeah, CKLA, which was Core Knowledge, I have it down here. Core Knowledge Language Arts was the other one that we looked at. I mean, we looked at 5 of them, but these were the 2 that the 30 educators that are really experts in the field felt were the best programs to look at. Also, we had to look at cost as well. I mean, there was a program that was over $1 million, and that was just, even if it was a great program, we knew that that was a tough one to swallow. So, but we came down to CKLA and EL, and the group decided to go forward with EL after the research that was done.
Well, thank you. I'm sure parents appreciate that, and I have relatives that worked in developing curricula.
Thank you.
So I understand. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Gentleman at the left microphone. We're all done with our questions, so what's your question?
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Moderator.
Don Gibson, 815 Union Street. It's not a question. I want to make 2 comments, if I may, with respect to this article. Number 1, the article illustrates the difference for those town meeting members who may be here for the first time. There were many last night, of the difference between a motion and a warrant article. And it is the warrant article, is not the warrant article that you are voting on. It is the motion that you have displayed before you up on the screen. So when you see the term or the figure of $9 million plus, that's not what's being asked with respect to this particular warrant article. It's the motion which is asking for an appropriation slightly in excess of $3 million. That's
Correct.
one observation, and I hope that those people who are new to the meeting, that will help them understand as we go forward. Secondly, when we do get to the operating budgets, I just want to point out that the schools have line item autonomy. So the only thing that we're going to be voting on once we get there is the total figure that would be appropriated for the schools. How they use that money and what line items they apply it to is exclusively a matter for them and can't be affected by the town meeting. Thank you.
Correct. And Mr. Parker's pointed out, or Mr. Pasevich, I'm sorry, pointed out specifically that we usually read the list and question the list that goes on. As we get into the budget and the capital budget, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to read the list, and you'll be able to question individual line items as it goes along.
If I may have leave to comment, yeah, that's nice to know that, but the confusion was we didn't know where that number came from.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed. We should have gone through the list, and it would have been a little bit more evident. So we will do that in the future. So, do you have a...
I just have one. So my name is Muriel Tausi, 745 Union Street. So we're going to move the 3 million over, but if you take out the money that you have for the school summer pay, I added it quickly. It's probably wrong. but it ended up being a little under 2 million without the article, without the item 6.
Well, if you take out, and I'll do the quick math.
Maybe I might even be doing this wrong. I'm sorry if I am, but I thought there were different numbers from
2.4 from one article and 3.6 from the other adds up to 6.
No, I know, but it doesn't, but what I just added in that
Okay.
last column,
Not a problem.
65, all the stuff in there. It didn't add up to the 9 million. Maybe I did it wrong. I did it on my phone.
My quick math is we're taking out 6, and there's 9.
Right,
Leaves
right.
about 3.
But I don't, when I added up, it didn't add up to 9.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that was just my concern. I just noticed
Yeah,
that.
That's a good question. Everybody makes mistakes. Somebody could have made a mistake here, so that's fine to question it. All right, so we're back to a vote on Article 6. This is a majority vote. Get back to my motions so I can put this down correctly. So all those in favor of Article 6, please raise your hand. All those opposed, I declare that Article 6 passes. And the last article is Article 7. Article 7, the Select Board moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $3,557,471 to repair the roofs of Marshfield High School, Daniel Webster School, Governor Winslow School, and the Eames Way School, to prepare for and in anticipation of the installation of solar photovoltaic units on said roofs, and to meet this appropriation, transfer said sum from stabilization funds, with sums being returned to the stabilization fund upon the town receipt of the proceeds from borrowing by the town anticipated in July of 2024, with any revenue received from said solar voltaic units used to pay down the cost of the borrowing. So with borrowing and taking out a stabilization, this is going to be a 2/3 vote. So, Mr. Maresco.
Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. So as folks know, we've been getting into photovoltaics, clean energy, and we're looking to put photovoltaics on the school roofs. In order to do that, we want to make sure that the roofs will last at least 20 years. So the roofs that have been identified, and there's been a lot of misinformation out there, so I just want to take a second on the high school roof. There was information out there. There was tears in the high school roof. There was a bad blizzard, I think, in 15. Staff and a contractor had to go up there, shovel off the roof, because there was at least a couple of feet of snow. And when they did it, there were some tears. Those tears were repaired at that time. Over the years, anyone that flat roofs are always a major challenge. So as part of this, to put the photovoltaics up there, we're going to fix the insulation, we're going to fix the membrane, and these are repairs. These are not, so I want everyone to be clear that these are not complete roof replacement. This is a membrane that we're going to put over the existing roof that will get us 20 to 25 more years of life, so that we can have the photovoltaics up there and not have to worry about that. With the high school project, along with making those repairs with the insulation, putting the membrane out there, we're also putting a walkway, because most buildings have the utilities up on the roof. And the flat roof, people walk, they put their cases down, they may drop something. So as part of that project, we're adding these walkways up there, so hopefully we get a much longer use out of those roofs. But so what we're hoping to do is we need to get going on the project. We want to get the roofs repaired, so over the summer they can start working on the photovoltaic installation. So Marshfield High School, the cost to fix those areas is $639,590. Now, just to put that into perspective, if you had to replace that roof, that would cost about $10 million. So we're doing repairs and saving taxpayers a substantial amount of money. The other school is next school is the Eames Way School. Putting the membrane to get 25 years on that roof is $550,213. But if you had to totally replace and rebuild that roof, it would be $1,745,803. Next is Governor Winslow. The cost to get that up to 25 years is $838,639. And the cost to replace that roof, if we had to replace and rebuild, would be $3,554,340. And then finally, the Daniel Webster School, the cost to bring that to 25-year warranty is $1,010,595. But if you had to replace that roof and rebuild it, as opposed to put the membrane covering on it, it would cost $4,085,962. And we didn't rely on the photovoltaic company for us to use their vendors. We went out and used our own vendors. Tremco is the company that we use, and they're the ones that we'd be doing this work. Once that work is done, then the photovoltaic company, NextGrid, will be able to then install the photovoltaic. So we hope that town meeting would support that. And I guess the big thing, so folks will know, is that the reason we're putting the photovoltaics is because we get money. We get yearly lease. Marshfield High School yearly lease would be $39,901.13. Amesway School would be $18,739.61. Governor Winslow would be $42,609.19, and Daniel Webster would be $39,398.78. That's roughly about $140,648.88 annually. So we would borrow, if town meeting is supportive, we'll take the money out of stabilization. Treasurer collector goes out in the market in July. We borrow the money. Then in the fall, when we come back, we put the money back into stabilization, and the money we borrowed would cover that, and then we use the proceeds that are coming in from the photovoltaics to pay down the note. And I want to thank Fred Russell, our facility director, and Tony for putting together this information for me with the cost and figures.
Okay, thank you. From the advisory board, Mr. Polanski.
Keith Polanski, Advisory Board. We recommend this article. Just so you know, stabilization is money we put aside if we have any free cash left at the annual town meeting. This is a great use for the stabilization account. It lets us do a project without spending any money on borrowing costs, on short-term borrowing. And this is how you should use this money. Go back into the fund, and only town meeting can spend the stabilization fund. Thank you.
Okay, because this money is coming out of stabilization, this will end up being a 2/3 vote when we go to vote. Right microphone.
Yeah, Muriel Tausi, 745 Union Street. I am all for repairing any roofs of the schools that are having a problem. I feel that after being here, is this working?
Yep.
After last night, the town clerk, we were told we don't have the money to hire an extra person, but we're going to borrow $3 million for solar panels. It just doesn't make common sense to me whatsoever. I think definitely you should repair a roof that has a problem, but when we're going into more debt, and then they say we're going to pay it down, I mean, we'll make whatever it is a year, but it'll take us many years to pay off over $3 million. It's another saddle on the taxpayer. I don't think that solar panels should be a top 10 issue for this town right now. There's a lot of things going sideways, and I don't understand this at all.
I believe the money's coming out of stabilization fund. It's not debt. So we're removing money from stabilization, which is
Well, it says
a savings account
used
that
to
the
pay
town
down the
has.
cost of said borrowing. They're gonna pay down what they borrow.
Is that the right
So we
word?
are borrowing.
What? We're going to borrow later. Okay, so I get what it is. It's short-term coming out of stabilization, long-term it will be borrowed. Yes. So we're taking out of stabilization to be returned to the stabilization fund through borrowing at a future date. So yes, we're borrowing.
I just don't see how that's saving us any money or really helping us right now. I just don't.
Okay.
It's not a dire need for our town.
Mr. Maresco, do you want to comment on that at all, or?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, thank you. So the reason that we're doing photovoltaics, when we signed the contract to do photovoltaics probably 5 or 6 years ago to get through the red tape to get us to where we are, we've started installing photovoltaics in town. You'll see carports at the police station. You'll see some rooftop units on other buildings. When all is said and done, the town will be collecting for about 20 years $21,770,000, which factors out, it's like doing a debt exclusion every year and having money that will be coming in. We get that money. We're not paying for the photovoltaic units. We're doing our due diligence on those roofs. We don't want to get into the situation where we're going to install photovoltaics, have the company install the photovoltaics, and then there'd be a problem with the roof. We want to make sure photovoltaics, they replace them out every 20 or 25 years, so we want to make sure that the roofs, before we put them on them, are good for 20 to 25 years. So that's why we're putting the membrane on top.
Mm-hmm.
We're paying for the membrane. You're correct. The photovoltaics we do not pay for. The company pays us, and we get the money.
Do they replace damaged solar panels if there's a hailstorm?
Mr. Maresco?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. I just, when I see stuff like this, I just know when, no offense to any of you guys, but government doesn't save money, they spend it. And I just think that this is more spending that we just can't afford right now. We can't afford it. If we can't afford somebody for the clerk, the town clerk, I don't understand how we can afford this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Left microphone.
Pam Pristis, 60 Central Street. I was one of those mothers 10 years ago who fought for a new school because the locker room collapsed and my daughter couldn't get her gym clothes, so I was all for a new school. And I am just stunned to hear what I've heard, how you want $600,000 or whatever it is, people shoveled off the roof. Who designed it? What engineers were consultant? This is New England, and we get feet and feet of snow. So why were there no heated things? Why isn't there a pitch? Why isn't there something that could carry a load? I mean, who's it, responsible for the design of it? And we were promised that they would take care of the school. And from what I hear, there's leaks in all the schools. And this is not a priority. We have kids with mold symptoms. They're all sick from these wet schools with leaking roofs. This is the last thing we need, this technology to keep up with the Joneses. We have leaking roofs. There's a tarp over at Martinson on the roof, and you think that this is a good use of money? It just, these projects, it's like monopoly money. It's real money, and our taxes are crazy. Regular people can't afford to live here, and this is an extremely bad idea, and I am just stunned at the irresponsibility, at the maintenance of these buildings, that there's leaking roofs, and it just doesn't seem to end. I don't understand it. I don't understand how it's happened.
Okay.
And I'm not happy. The irresponsibility, the reckless spending, just keep signing on, and you guys will all say yes, 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 and our taxes keep going up, and we get less and less, and I am just really discouraged at the process here. So that's all.
Okay. Right microphone. Again, please with the applause.
Corrine Consoli, Old Farm Road. I remember that winter very, very well, 2014, 2015, when we just got an unprecedented amount of snow in a short amount of time. What guarantees or sort of practices are now in place so that if we do have another winter, if we do have another amount of snow substantial in a short amount of time, that there won't be further roof damage to not only the high school but any of the other buildings?
Mr. Maresco?
What I'd like to do is I'd like to, Mr. Moderator, if you could call up Fred Russell, our facility director. He could talk about the protocols about removing snow from the roofs.
Mr. Russell?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Fred Russell, Director of Facilities, and a resident at 92 Marshall Street. Right now, we have an on-call roofing contractor who, in the event we have significant amount of snow on the roofs, will be mobilized to take care to remove the snow. They are roofers, that's their trade, and they know what they need to do. They wouldn't bring it down to the membrane, they'd leave, 6 to 8 inches of snow. That's what we would do.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just have one other follow-up. This amount, it sounds like regardless of whether we're putting the solar panels on these roofs do need to be repaired for all these schools. So this is, regardless of whether or not the solar panels are installed, these need to happen. These repairs need to happen, and this is going to get us 25 years of secure roofs on these buildings. I'm understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
Thank you.
I just have one comment I'd like to make, Mr. Moderator, if I may.
Sure.
The Daniel Webster School is, of the 4 schools, is in the worst condition, and that's still a candidate for restoration. It's just barely a candidate. It may not be, if this is not approved, the new roof would cost $4 million. We're gonna spend $1 million to save $3 million. That's how I look at it, because another year from now, if we don't do it now, it won't be a candidate for restoration, it'll be a complete replacement. That's all I have.
Okay. Left microphone.
Tim Griffin, 63 Prince Rogers Way. I'd like to reiterate, I would figure there'd be an engineering snow load on that school. It's brand new. And if the roofing contractor shovels it off, is he responsible for the roof now? Who would pay for that if they rip the roof again?
Mr. Russell?
It depends on the circumstances involved. I see your point, but.
It's a $600,000 point. It's expensive. It should be
The
known.
questions go through me, please. So you can continue to answer.
If they were negligent, they would be responsible.
And that's in writing? That's in a
That's
contract?
in their contract.
Okay.
Okay. Right microphone.
Yeah, Robert Tice, Webster Street. Yeah, that was my question. Do we get a warranty for these roof repairs?
We have not for the high school, we don't, but the other ones, we have 25-year warranty with the coating, with the restoration.
Now, was the Marshfield High School here? Were we under warranty?
It's still under warranty, but physical damage is not included.
Have the discussion go through me, please, just to make sure that it all keeps even. So
when the guys went up on the roof with the shovels up here and wrecked the roof, was the warranty still good or was it void?
It would have been voided unless they went, I was not here at the time, so I can't answer that question, but the punctures in the roof would have voided the warranty if they didn't contact Sonnefield to have it correctly inspected.
Well, all I can do is hope that we have a good warranty on repairs, because repairs aren't as good as a new roof, and hopefully someone's paying attention.
left microphone.
Steve Lakatos, 184 Elm Street. I was concerned when we did have that snowstorm and the roof work done. I'm concerned about flat roofs. And whether it was done in the past, if it happens again that we have to have the snow cleared from a roof, is there any way of getting any kind of warranty that, okay, if the people that clear the roof cause this damage, which was obvious in this case, very obvious in this case, is there any way that that can be insured or covered or, litigated against because they caused the damage?
Mr. Russell?
I wouldn't say that the snow shoveling caused all the damage. There are a lot of rooftop units, a lot of mechanical equipment on the roof that require maintenance. So we could have a maintenance mechanic go up on the roof and drop a screwdriver, drop a piece of equipment that would cause that damage.
I'm sorry. My question isn't to whether it was more concerned with the high school roof that suffered the damage a few years after it was built. And it seems obvious that you could find damage to the floor of the roof that is obvious to the work being done in the shoveling. All I mean is, if we have to shovel the roof again in the future, is there a way to ensure the workers don't damage the roof and then that's covered? Because it's a flat roof. I mean, and the reason I say this is I was on a flat roof once on a condo that I lived in. I damaged the roof while trying to clear during one of these extreme snowstorms. And they're very brittle. They're incredibly brittle during these conditions. And that will lead me into my next question. So is there any way of getting warranty on the work being done, or getting,
You're talking about
if a
the
workman damages my house while he's there, it should be covered?
You're talking about a warranty on the shoveling.
Correct.
It'd be tough to prove that they did the damage. I mean, we did the thermal scan of every school in this program, and it cost $9,300 to do a scan of this roof.
Yeah, 1,900 is a drop in the bucket to $500,000 in damage being done. I mean, usually you could find that damage immediately. If water's coming into the roof after a storm like this, you can see it pretty quick. So I don't know if, maybe it wasn't looked for, and what's past is past.
Okay.
If we have to do this again in the future, I would suggest, or at least have some kind of watchful eye, because this is going to happen again. We're going to get snow again within 25 years.
I think you get your point across. You're out of time for your talking, so thank you.
Oh, that wasn't even the
right
point I was
microphone.
gonna get to.
Hi, Kathy Brown, 4 Union Street. Sorry. My question is around the other schools that you put the panels on. They're pretty old, 1970s built around, okay? So why do a 25-year thing? Because I know that Rockland just consolidated all their elementary schools, built a brand-new one, just one. They had 5 also. Isn't that something down the line, like probably within 10 years that would be maybe looked at, the structures that are old? That would be my question, is why put those panels on those structures when, I know you just said $1 million, spending $1 million for $3 million, but the whole thing is gonna have to probably be rubble and then rebuilt. You're taking down the new solar panels, correct, to do all that?
We're installing new solar panels.
Right, but if you had to demolish the schools, Eames Way, Daniel Webster, Governor Winslow, you got Martinson, that's probably being blown out over there as well, things going on over there. So that's my point, is if you have old structures, why are you looking 25 years down the road when you probably should be shortening that? Maybe 5 or 10 at least, if you were gonna do that. And then my other question would be around the solar panels. There's plenty of lots as you go down 139 that's all cleared up on the left-hand side, across from Tedeschi's and all that. Why couldn't some of those solar panels go right there? They're not bothering anybody. They're not overlooking anything. They don't look that ugly. You have them down on Clay Pit Road. Why couldn't that be another area? I know it seems to me like you put in the contract that you're gonna buy a certain amount, so you need to put them somewhere. Am I correct about that?
No, it's a lease of space. We're just leasing the space.
Okay, but if you're gonna put them on the roofs of old buildings, I don't think
We have
that's a
structural
great
engineers.
idea.
NextGrid hired structural engineers to validate they're not gonna create any issue whatsoever. And actually, we've had an independent review. We've hired a structural engineer to review their engineers' assumptions as well.
But I'm not saying that the solar panels are gonna cause the buildings to collapse. I'm saying that the buildings are old, all on their own, and eventually probably gonna have to be demolished to either build bigger in the places that they're at already, or a town meeting to say we need another giant elementary school somewhere, and it's probably just gonna be 1 instead of 5.
Mr. Moderator, point of order.
Sure.
Just quickly, so I think I can answer the person at the mic's question. There are no plans to replace any of the elementary schools in the next 25 years as of today. So we're going to keep those schools. That's why we're going through that's why we're putting the membrane on those roofs, so that we can put the photovoltaics. And just as a follow-up on the question, we need to own the land where we put the photovoltaics. Thank you.
Okay. Unfortunately, you already spoke in the article. You're only allowed to speak once. So, thank you. Woman from the left microphone. That would be you. My left.
My name is Jennifer Ward, and I actually work at the high school, and it's 605 Pine Street, Marshfield. I just have a question. So I've been here since 2015, and my office has leaked several times. So since 2015, right after it was built. So if this keeps happening, we just keep paying? I'm a little bit unclear on that one.
What,
So,
I don't understand your question, so if you could just
so
phrase it again.
for the previous damage that was done to the roof, was that covered under the warranty? So, or did taxpayers make up that amount that was fixed?
Mr. Russell?
No, physical damage is not covered under the warranty. Warranties are for workmanship and materials, manufacturer supplied material failures.
Okay. So if these units, someone puts these units on the roof and they damage it, then it's more money? I'm a little unclear on.
Mr. Russell?
The goal is to restore the roofs, put a film on it. For example, a roof membrane could be 50 mils thick. What we're putting on, it's 130 mils. It's an application process. It's very, very robust. It's a base coat. It's got a fiberglass woven. I think it's better than a roof, unless, I think it's gonna, and actually, the walkways we're putting on can be taken off and reused. And in the future, 20 years from now, we can actually recoat what we're coating today. So it saves a significant amount of money. When you go to replace a roof, it's a significant amount of cost because you have to bring it up to current codes as well. But if you're in a repair mode, you can do the maintenance on the roof and create a watertight, waterproof roof.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Right microphone.
Tom
Jacob
Whalen,
Walter.
Old Main Street. Are any of the roofs in question leaking now?
Yes,
Mr. Russell?
yes.
And how long have they been leaking for?
We don't tolerate roof leaks. When they leak, we respond. We have aqua barriers, our on-call roofing contractor to respond and make the repairs.
So the roofs are tight to weather right now, all these roofs?
No, I mean, you're talking thousands, hundreds of thousands of square feet of roofing. We probably don't get through many rainstorms with no leaks whatsoever. There are certain leaks that happen in certain wind conditions, like even at your house. You have a certain northeast wind or a west wind.
So we're talking about flat roofs. I worked in construction quite a bit, and worked on roofs, and usually the wind does not affect the flat roof unless there's no ballast and it's lifting it up.
It does when you're talking about roof curbs and so forth. You might have a bad roof curb in one corner that you're not aware of, and the wind comes from that direction every fifth, sixth storm, and you get a leak from that area.
Okay,
I've
thank you.
seen that.
Right microphone.
Jacob Qualter, Oakleaf Drive. Just a few questions here. So if this happened in the winter of 2015, why are we finding out about it in the spring of 24?
When the town decided to put the solar panels on the roofs, we did a thermal scan, an infrared thermal scan. That's the best predictive of moisture under the membrane. So basically, we did that, and we found that there was around the equipment at the high school, probably from mechanics working on doing the PMs at the rooftop. There's a lot of equipment up there on the roof, a lot of air handlers, a lot of chillers, and there was no walkway. We're going to put a robust 3-foot by 8-foot honeycomb fiberglass walkway system that's going to be elevated off the deck about half an inch to prevent a reoccurrence of this problem or minimize it in the future. That's our goal, is to try to minimize this in the future. But it could be from mechanics putting tools down, dropping a tool. It create a little puncture, and the moisture gets in there and gets stuck in the insulation and degrades it.
Okay, so I'm referencing the tears to the roof. So, and who was the contractor that?
I have no idea. It was before my time. I mean, 2015. I don't know who it was.
So there's no,
Go
there's
through
no
me, please.
recollection of who the contractor was.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you that well.
There's no recollection of who the contractor was that created $640,000 worth of damage.
Actually, the damage in the roof is $284,000. The walkway system we're purchasing to try to minimize future damage of the roof, including snow shoveling, is $356,000. Those walkways are reusable. We can pull them off, repair the roof and put them back on, or relocate them to a different school. They're slip resistant. This is a PVC roof. If it gets a little wet, it becomes very, very slippery, so it's going to be a better walking service for the mechanics who do have to go up there and service equipment. So it's not just $640,000 for repairs. It's $284,000 for repairs and $356,000 for the walkways.
All right. My final question is, why was there an insurance claim not filed with the tears?
Mr. Russell?
I don't know that. I don't know why.
I think that all
Before my
predates
time.
the people that are here, so I'm not sure whether you can find an answer to that.
we should have an answer to it. I mean,
There's, all the people that are here now were not there when it took place, so I don't know. Can anybody give an answer to that? Is that possible?
so there's no records?
I'm asking.
No, I've seen no records of that.
Well, I think the town deserves to know if there was an insurance claim filed for damage that wasn't,
Okay,
so, thank you.
thank you. Right microphone, please. Right microphone. You.
Tina Shea, Careswell Street. I'm confused that you have damage to a roof that nobody's been held responsible for, and now not only do you want to put a new roof that nobody's going to be responsible for, because after you install solar panels, the roof warranty will be void, correct?
Mr. Russell?
Based upon what?
Well, I don't know if if the snow that falls being shoveled voids the warranty, then solar panels being put on the roof, I'm sure would void the warranty. No?
Physical damage.
Again, this is all supposed to go through me, so we keep it going smoothly. Town council just said the roofing or the solar contractor, once they put their equipment on the roof,
Mm-hmm.
then owns the warranty on the roof.
Okay, and then what about the person who then puts a walkway on the roof? And then there's gonna be who dropped what and who did what after putting all of this extra weight that the stuff that's already up there is making it leak, so now you're gonna put more stuff up there, Mr. Moderator?
Again, according to town council, that, you want to do any speaking on that, or I can just relay it? The people who are putting on the roof and the walkway are insured as well.
Okay, but if the roof right now can't handle what's already up there, then you're gonna keep putting more stuff up there? Mr. Moderator?
Yeah, I'm with you. So again, I'm translating for town council. Part of the solar company's responsibility is to make sure that the roof can take the appropriate loads.
It can't now.
No, I don't think that that's true. And Andrew,
It has been said, right, that there's lots of things up there. And if a dropped screwdriver
That
puts
can
a
put-
hole in the roof, let's do walkways and solar panels.
so Andrew,
Mr. Moderator.
Andrew Stewart, the building commissioner, can address some of this.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Andrew Stewart, I'm the building commissioner, 65 Foster Ave.
We can't hear you.
Excuse me, Andrew Stewart, building commissioner, 65 Foster Ave. So when the photovoltaic project really started getting going several years ago, when it was passed at town meeting, and we started to evaluate the roofs, Fred Russell came to me, talked to me about what was going to be needed to do this, and I told him he was going to need to get an engineering review to make sure that the loads that were going to be imposed, the structural loads, what we call live loads, that's when things are placed onto structures, that we would have enough capacity in the existing roofs to handle the equipment that's already there and all the photovoltaic stuff that we're putting on and additional roof coverings. So we've done those engineering reviews, peer reviews of those engineering reviews. They've certified that the roofs can take all of this stuff. So I have full confidence that the roofs are going to be able to hold those structural loads, those live loads, and the snow loads that they're already designed for, and to exceed what we have gotten on in 2014, 2015. So they're actually designed to exceed those loads, which is why they didn't fail during those storms. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
So again,
does that answer your
the
question?
screwdriver makes a hole, and the word salad does not. So is who's responsible then? The engineer when it fails again?
From town council, the solar panel company would be responsible for the warranty on the roof.
Okay. What about the walkway? Who's doing the walkway?
The walkway contractor.
So who's responsible
They
for the
would be-
walkway?
They would be, the walkway contractor would be responsible for the walkway warranty.
Okay, but the guy who shoveled it isn't responsible for the roof. But now you're gonna hold all these people responsible for who did what?
The- I believe what was said was the shoveler is a whole different animal to this.
The shovel is a whole different animal, but the screwdriver dropper isn't. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay? Left-hand microphone.
Hi, Deborah Wood,
Yeah, that's
Snowy.
you. Yep.
Deborah Wood, Snowy Owl Lane. It's just a practical question. If you have a flat roof, significant snowfall, once you put the panels on and the roof needed to be shoveled, can it be shoveled with the panels on the roof?
Yes,
It can? Without removing them?
it can be. That's part of the design. We're making paths to the roof
Okay.
drains and the equipment so that we can have access to it.
Okay, all right.
Ms. Lynch?
Don't start the clock yet. I have a procedural question for you first, Jim.
Sure.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So can we separate this article so we can vote to repair the roofs, because they gotta be fixed? You got us captive on that, right? And not have to have the solar panels? Not gonna be legal motion amendment to get rid of the solar panel part of this article?
Fix the roof and remove the solar panels? You want to check? We'll check. Not sure. Agreed. I'll let the professional decide what he's doing with it.
Jim, can you repeat what he said, because we don't know what you agreed to?
It says the way that reads, it doesn't actually talking about putting the photovoltaics on the roof, just that ultimately that's what would happen.
Well, then where are they getting permission from town meeting to do it then? If it doesn't read that way.
So, Robert Galvin, Mr. Lynch, I just asked the town administrator and the facilities manager, there's an existing agreement with the solar company to install solar on these roofs. The solar company has expended a significant amount of money already to study what needs to be done to modify things and make this appropriate to do this. There's a financial consequence to the town in the event that we do not fulfill our obligations and appropriate the money to put this on the roof.
Well, did we authorize you to sign a contract with the solar company?
When did we authorize it? I guess would be the question. Ms. Baresco, I guess this is the obvious question, is
Yes.
when was the contract with the photovoltaic company?
We signed a power purchase agreement about 5 years ago. That's how long ago it was. It takes that long to get it designed and get to this point.
So the executive branch of government has the authority to do that?
Pardon? I know, but was that,
Town meeting approved the power purchase agreement 5 years ago.
there you
Okay,
go.
take your word for it.
That's what I want.
Okay, so here we go. I don't want to belabor this point, but there's some questions I just have to know the answer to. It's driving me crazy. So, do you have the engineering study for this roof? Do you know what the live load per square foot is that is too much snow?
I can get that for you, yes.
You don't know it offhand?
No, I don't.
So tell me, when we decided to shovel the roof in 2015, did anybody take a square foot of snow and measure the weight to see that we were at capacity before we destroyed the roof?
I wasn't here then, but a square foot of snow, based on the density of the snow, wet snow weighs more per square foot than light fluffy snow?
So what
The-
I'm
the
saying is,
people-
we know what if you know what the live load per square foot of the roof is, and you measure a square foot of snow after a snowstorm, you know what that weighs, and then you can multiply it by the square footage of the roof, and you'll know it if you're at capacity. Then you make the decision to hire the roofers to destroy the roof, right? After you know that you get too much snow. Does anybody?
I'll go with that. If you're asking what happened back when the snow was shoveled, none of those people are here.
I'm
So-
asking are you planning for the future, if you think there's too much
I will
snow and it
have-
has to be shoveled, are you gonna go measure some square footage of snow and see what it weighs and see if it's over the live load capacity?
I will have Andrew Stewart give a response.
Andrew Stewart, Building Commissioner. I just want to clarify something real quick. Again, the load is the weight and the impacts that are put onto the structure, generally, or in events where you have snow or high winds, or just a regular load of the structural elements of the building imposing a load on themselves, okay? What happened here was physical damage when snow was removed. The loads did not cause the damage.
I am
The
not
snow
saying they
load
did.
not cause the
I'm
damage.
saying who decided to shovel the roof? Did you have too much weight?
He is giving you an answer. You
The
need
wrong
to wait-
answer. It's not answering my question.
He's giving you the answer, so you need to wait and hear the answer.
Okay.
So what I believe, and I think Fred can attest to this, is that they've developed policies so that either after, I'll let Fred speak to the policy of removing snow.
There are certain schools that have snow loads that we have to react to. One is the Furnace Brook and one is the Martinson School. We react to that. If it became a situation where we had a significant amount of snow, I would contact Andrew. I have on-call engineers to come out and evaluate what was going on. If I saw a 20-inch storm coming, we would look at what's the area that we could be concerned with. I don't know off the top of my head, but I would look for it. I could find it probably in a couple of hours, you know?
Well, it would make sense to me, Jim, that if you know the snow load capacity of this roof is 100 pounds per 2 square feet, that before you call in the roofers to clear it, you might want to measure that 2 square feet of snow to see if you are at capacity before you decide to spend all this money to clear the roof and destroy the roof.
That's what he just said. If we was getting a snow load for Martinson and I don't remember which 2 schools there were, Furnace Brook, if he was getting a 20-inch snow load, he would call Andrew and they would get the engineers involved and they would determine whether or not they had to do anything with the roof.
And you would
That's what he just
physically
said.
go up there and measure a square foot of snow to see what it weighed. You dig it up and put it in a scale and weigh it.
It's what he just said. So
Yes?
he just said that they would, if they were getting a given snowstorm, they would start doing the engineering.
Okay, so then let's go back to warranty, please. So if we're going to have warranties on the work to this roof,
Apparently you're out of time. I'm sorry.
your clock shouldn't even been running. I wasn't even talking, Jim.
I
wasn't
don't
even
run the
talking.
clock. I was just made aware of the fact that it's out, so I don't know.
Well, I'm going to tell you, if we're going to have warranties on the roof, we're going to have litigation problems, because when you tell them that they're responsible under the warranty, they're going to
Okay.
say, no, we didn't do it. Get some security cameras and watch every single company that goes on these roofs.
Okay. Left microphone. You.
Martin Cleary, Ellis Avenue, Wrexham. Knowing that the solar photovoltaic units that you propose to do these in these 4 schools that are suggested, have you received, or not received, but have you studied the fact of another 4-building photoelectric control city around Massachusetts that would be doing the same thing that you're getting your education? Michael?
Mr. Maresco.
Michael Moresco, 201 Island. Photovoltaics are all over. You could drive up and down streets in Marshfield. They're on regular residential houses. They're on commercial buildings. There are carports. This is proven technology. It's been around for over 40 years now.
All right, thank you for that. The amount of money that the $3,557,471 on those 4 buildings, the money would come back into the paying down the borrowing. If there's an excess of kilowatt photoelectric control hours to be received from that, having a good year with an amount of kilowatt hours from the sun, to be beneficial to go back the borrowing and repair thereof any of those buildings. That's one question I have. And the second question, the guarantee that the contractor putting all these photoelectric controls, you will have a contract with them that they're definitely responsible for starting until a period of years thereafter?
Yes,
Mr.
that's
Rusko?
correct.
Oh, Mr. Russell.
There's a contract in place right now.
Yes?
Mr. Russell.
Yes, there's a contract in place right now for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay? I'll get these straight. So that microphone is the right microphone now. That'll be the left.
Priscilla Maglio, 1623 Arlington Street. I have a couple of questions. The first one is, on the high school, what is the roof made of now? Is it a rubber roof? What is it? What kind of roof is it?
Yep, Mr. Russell.
It's PVC. It's a type of roping. There's rubber roofing, there's PVC. It's PVC in this roof.
Is that easier to tear than a shingled roof or
Yes.
tar? It's
Yes.
easier to tear,
It
right?
is. That's why we're putting the walkway system in, to keep people in a designated area, especially when they're working around the rooftop equipment.
Okay, so the decision to put that kind of a roof on the high school doesn't seem to have been a good decision.
It's used, PVC is a widely used roofing cover membrane. What we're proposing, that's like, say, 50 mils thick. What we're proposing is 130 mils. It's more robust. Actually, the coating we're putting on is actually more robust.
Okay, thank you. I have 2 things to say. I hope I can remember them. The first thing I want to know is, I will say is that I was here for town meeting in 2019. I believe somebody said, it was so many years ago, that you got a contract with the solar system, solar units with this company for the town, and we have to live up to our part of the contract now and install this. This is what I got from this. And I don't remember voting on that kind of a contract passing through town meeting. So I'd love to know how that got established, but I'll go back and look at my 2019 town meeting notes. And the last thing I want to say is that I understand that when you clean a roof, you don't shovel it. You do what they call rake it or sweep it. You don't use rough things on a roof. So shoveling's out, as far as I'm concerned. You just don't shovel a roof. And I don't know why, or unless you can correct me, is there some kind of an ice melting system on the roof now?
Mr. Russell.
No, there's no ice melting system on the roof.
Wouldn't that be beneficial?
It'd be very expensive.
Well, we're spending a lot of money now, and town meeting members have to keep paying this money, and it ups our taxes. See, we don't really have promises coming through from the people who put roofs in and people who are managing the roofs. And then the town government is setting up contracts with people that we don't know about. And now we're responsible to live up to the contract and vote for it. That's all I'm getting out of this.
Ms.
So
Magley,
thank
you're
you
out of-
very much.
You're out of time. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, point of order.
Yes. Yes, with your point
Okay,
of order, Mr.
just,
Rusko.
just to try to save some of this, so none of us were here when the roof was shoveled, and the roof was shoveled and there was damage to it. No one in the school administration was here at that time. Fred wasn't here, I wasn't here. Now, that's not an excuse, but I can tell you with our facility director and our relationship with the school and the custodial staff, those types of mistakes are not going to be repeated. We have protocols in place that protect that. The photovoltaic structure will give us money. They're using our rooftops, they pay us money. That money goes into the budget to pay, yes, for things like the clerk's additional position in her office and other things that we have to pay for, as well as paying down the loan to fix those roofs and get 25 more years of use out of those roofs. I hope that helps to answer some of the questions.
Okay, thank you.
Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street. Excuse me, a few questions. First one, though, did your statement about the clerk just mean that you are going to hire her an assistant?
That's
Because you just said
beyond
that?
the scope of this article. It's not a question we can ask now.
Okay, all right. I'm confused about the insurance issue. So you've said that there's not insurance, or you don't know if there was insurance?
Mr. Russell? Are you talking about insurance for the
Insurance
from
claim.
the damage that had happened in the past, or
Right, insurance for, you know, damage
insurance
or...
in the future, or insurance
No, insurance for the roof that's there that's now needing to be fixed.
for stuff that happened previously, or insurance for the future?
Insurance that would have covered these costs. Insurance that you normally have on a building.
For the past damage.
Yes, for the past, not going forward, but for the past,
That
yeah,
was my
sorry.
question.
Yep.
I'm not sure, I'm not sure if a claim was ever made with Meyer, I'm not sure. But I tell you, if the roofer that we hire, we have a licensed roofer. Excuse me?
You gotta
We
get to
can't
the
hear
mic.
Okay. Okay. We have a licensed roofer who would respond to remove the snow from the roof. Before, I don't think they used a licensed roofer. But as far as insurance goes, if the roofer did cause the damage to the roof shoveling and we knew that and we could prove that, we would hold them liable.
Mr. Moderator, my question is about insurance on the building that would cover repairs for, you know,
No.
damage from storm,
Town-
whatever, like you have on a house.
Town council is saying no, that would not be covered.
That there was no insurance? I'm just confused about the lack of insurance.
Just a moment, let me get the answer. It would not cover this type of a loss. And I think
Oh.
it's because it's damage caused by an individual.
So it's damage caused by a contractor who didn't have insurance also? There was no insurance claim made,
None of the people here were here when that happened, so there's no way to know whether a claim was filed or not filed.
I feel like there could be a record of if the contractor had insurance, somewhere there could be a record. Okay, so maybe somebody could look into that.
Okay.
All right, my next question. Do we know who the engineering firm is that has studied, you said there was engineering studies, to see if the roof could hold the loads of the equipment that's up there plus all the other stuff you're going to put on it?
Mr. Russell?
Gale Associates was our independent reviewer on behalf of the town.
Okay, and is that an engineering firm we've used before?
Yes, they're an excellent roofing engineering company.
So is an engineering firm that we used for the work at the town hall?
No, we use different roofing for that, engineer for that.
I can't hear you either, so if you really got to get to the mic.
We used a different engineer for the town hall roof. The town hall roof you're talking about? Yeah.
So yeah, my concern with the engineering is that the town hall was engineered before they put all of those bathrooms on the second floor, and then once they started building, the roof in the clerk's office started falling down because the engineering study was wrong and it couldn't hold the weight, and that's why we had to come back for another $500,000 or whatever it was the next year.
Mr. Moderator, point of order, please.
Oh, what's your point of order?
I want to correct the individual at the microphone. She's wrong in what she's telling town meeting, and I find it offensive, quite honestly. It was about a weight bearing. So in the Mass Building Code regulations, when you do, the town's held to the same standards if you did work to your house. When you exceed the 50% value, the rules to construction kick in. So when we moved the select chamber from its original location to its new location, it went from a weight bearing of 50 pounds per square foot to 100 pounds. That's why we had to take the walls down and put steel underneath. It had to be designed, and we put steel there. It had nothing to do with the building collapsing. The building was never collapsing. It was in poor shape cosmetically. There were no structural deficiencies other than the bathrooms being 50-something years old.
Mr. Moderator, I apologize for my mistake, but the bottom line of my statement is that the engineering study should have flagged that ahead of when it happened. And that's my concern with the engineering study of this. Because if the study is off, like it was with the town hall, I would think that that would void the warranty of the solar company to cover damage, because they would then say your engineer was wrong.
Mr. Stewart.
That's my question.
Is going to speak to this.
Mr. Moderator, yes, the town hall was built several decades ago, well before the current codes are. So any current changes that you make have to meet the current codes. So when we created a new space that was going to hold a lot more people, which is what the live load I was talking about, loads that leave and come in. It's going to include your couches or any other kind of things that, you know, are temporary in nature, people, whatever. So now we are going to increase the live load of the amount of people that were going to be in the select board chamber. So we had to anticipate that load. We had an engineering study done on that existing floor to find out what the new loads that were going to be imposed upon it, whether that was going to suffice or not. That engineer came in, did the study, figured out what was going to need to be done in order to fix that, and then we hired the people and they did it. It was never designed wrong. It was just designed several decades ago when the loads, the calculations, the codes were all different. So we've brought that current area that we've remodeled to the current standards of the code.
The question was
equating
the engineering of town hall to the engineering for the roof. That was the question.
My concern was about the engineering study. If the engineering study is wrong, will it void the solar panel company's warranty, and will we be back with an issue like this again?
Mr. Russell, do you have a response to that?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Point of order. Can we make a move to question right now, or do we have to wait at the microphone?
We have always done it waiting at the microphone. So, thank you. If we would like to get up and move the question, I believe we've had most sides of this discussed already, but as of right now, you need to be at a mic.
Me?
Yep.
Madeline Daly, 5 MacArthur Lane. Thank you. As I'm listening to the questions being asked, I find it hard to believe that we're moving forward with putting solar panels on the roof, applying another form of rubber on the roof prior to the putting on the panels, and nobody has the data, research, or details of the past storm. You can stop the clock.
What past storm are you referring to?
2015 that caused the initial damage on the high school roof.
Nobody here has it handy. They weren't here, is what they've said before.
I understand, but if we're moving forward with doing things on the roof, we should research the details of what happened in the past to prevent it in the future. Stop the clock.
Have you done that, Mr. Russell?
We have done that, and we have the on-call roofer, a licensed roofer, available to respond in the event the snow exceeds, snow becomes a concern.
Is it a different roofer from the one in 2015?
Absolutely.
Again, conversation goes through me, please.
Oh, sorry. Apologies. Okay. Before I run out of time, my statement here, my main statement is that the roofs have been leaking for a long time. There's mold in most of the schools. The building, Mr. Stewart stated that they go out on emergency to two of the schools in Pacific, Martinson and Furnace Brook, because their roofs are apparently, I would presume, so old that they will fall in if they don't have immediate attention. But the roofs have been leaking. Children have been breathing in mold. Teachers have been breathing in mold. We had a teacher speak that her office leaks on a regular basis. We're addressing it because you want to put on solar panels because you approved a power purchase agreement 5 years ago. That's not the responsibility of the people. The responsibility of the town is to repair the roofs for the well-being of the health of the children and the teachers and everyone that uses the facility, not to put up your own agenda of putting up solar panels. Stop the clock.
Mr. Granatino.
I just want to, Jeff Granatino, Superintendent of Schools. I just want to make it clear that there is not rampant mold in the buildings. I know that's something that's been shared in social media. I can't control what's on social media.
Pardon me, the conversation does not come from the audience, it's from the microphones.
As has been spoken about multiple times tonight, there have been times when there is leaking from the ceilings or from the roofs in some of our buildings. They are addressed when that occurs. If we have had issues that needed testing, we have done testing. But we do not have an issue where there is rampant mold in all of the buildings. We do not want our students to be in that type of setting. We do not want our staff to be in that type of building. I couldn't find a school administrator or a committee or a town that would ever want that to happen. So has there been ever mold in a building? Of course. Every house, every building in town has mold at times. When we see it, when we find it, we mitigate it, we repair it. But it is not rampant over the schools. I know this has been a big issue on social media for a little while now. I can't control that, but I can tell you that if we have an issue, we will take care of it. And the work on the roofs here will help us greatly, obviously, and it's been said by some of you here, even if you have issues on the photovoltaics, which I think will help the town, but you know, the concern on the roofs and the work in the roofs will improve our buildings immensely, and I would appreciate that support there. But I just want to make it clear, because I know that it's been said over and over and over, and yes, have there been times when we find mold? You usually see mold, you don't smell it, you don't feel it, but you see it and you take care of it when that happens, and that has occurred, and we have taken care of it. So I just want to get that out there. Mr. Moderator, thank you.
I have one more question. Is there a group of teachers suing the town for mold-infested schools?
Mr. Granatino?
No.
All right, well, since I've only got 7 seconds left, I vote against this. This is not right. You're to fix the roofs sooner than later. You haven't, and you're now only putting up something that's going to benefit you. And you should have not passed a law 5 years ago that you could not follow through on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Martine?
Martine Anderson, 5 Weathervane Lane. I move the question, please.
Okay. So a resident can, voter in town can move the question. I have the opportunity to accept or not accept that moving the question if I think that more discussion needs to be had. I think we've had about an hour's worth of discussion now, so I think it's a valid moving the question. This would be a 2/3 vote.
I have a point of order.
Yes?
I'm looking for some clarification. There was a question answered, so I
There was,
don't think we have all the
we're moving,
information.
the question's been moved, so.
Well, again, you're
It's a
making a
vote.
decision.
There's a vote to move the question. It's a 2/3 vote of town meeting. If you think that you have heard enough and are ready to vote, please raise your hand. If you wish to hear more discussion, please raise your hand. I declare that that passes by 2/3. So we're going to go to a vote on the question, no further debate. So this is a 2/3 vote to pass this question. All those in favor, I've still got a couple of people getting to their seats, I believe. All those in favor of Article 7, please rise. Oh, raise your hand, I'm sorry. We might as well go to a standing vote. That was pretty close, so let's go to a standing vote. A, we can see how many people are here, so look at it that way. I think it's going to be a close enough vote. Anyway. Right. Yeah. I knew that. We all good? Section A, 23. Section B, 33. Section C, 15. Section D,
28.
28. Section E,
20.
20. And at the front? 14. All those opposed to question 7, please rise. We all set? Section A. 2. Section B. 4. Section C. 2. Section D.
43.
43. Section E.
17.
17. Up front. 0. Wow. The article passes by the slimmest of margins. Wait, does it? No, it does not. Nope, the article did not pass. Don't need it. Okay. I would ask for a motion to retire the special town meeting. What? 7 people would have to stand for a recount. Okay, 7 people can stand for a recount. We can do a recount. Pardon me? It's valid to ask for a recount. It's 7 people rise to question the vote. 7 people rose. So we're going to do this all over again. It's the same drill. So Article 7. All those in favor of Article 7, please rise.
Point of order, Mr. Moderator. Point of order. Was the previous vote taken on the motion to move the article or on the article itself? I believe it was on the
No,
motion
we did a standing count.
move.
We did a standing count to move the question, and then we went to the vote on the question.
Okay, so the motion to move the article failed, correct?
Yes, we took a vote on the article, and now we are re-voting because 7 people rose to question the vote.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I think you're misstating it. We didn't take a vote on the article.
We did, we
took a
just did,
vote
the
on
standing vote
to
was on the,
move.
the standing vote was on
We
the
took a
article.
motion to move the article for a vote.
No, we did a show of hands for the moving the question. I declared that it passed, and then this is, the last standing vote was the vote on the article.
Well, then I'd have to say that the motion to reconsider the count with the 7 standing people should have happened after the hand count.
No, that was on the moving the article, so no. So anybody who, and anybody out, anybody else wants to vote, you need to get in and get into a seat. You need to get in and into a seat, Kathy, if you're going to vote. So, and you're getting a police escort. Okay, so we are voting on the motion again. We're voting on Article 7. All those in favor of Article 7, please rise.
Mr. Moderator. Mr. Moderator, can you please clarify why the people are standing? I'm hearing a lot of question in my section. They're standing
Everybody.
for, they're in favor of?
We're standing in favor of Article 7. So, all those in favor of Article 7, please rise. We're going to count again. Did you get those guys at the end, Elise? Are we set? Section A. 24. Section B. 33. Section C. 17. Section D.
29.
29. Section E.
18.
18. Front. 17. Okay, all those opposed to Article 7, please rise.
Mr. Moderator, point of order.
What's your point of order?
The town meeting rules state if the declared results of voice votes or show of hands are questioned by 7 voters, standing immediately after the declared vote, a standing vote will be taken without debate. It does not allow for questioning standing votes.
It could be reconsideration, in
Right
which
there.
case, I can accept a reconsideration. This person asked to check the vote.
It did not ask, he did not question it as a reconsideration.
This is legit. People are voting again. That's the way it goes. And for what it's worth, I spoke with Ms. Casper. The vote lost by one vote. She didn't count my vote. And I would have voted in favor of it. So it would have passed the first time if it didn't pass this time. So just to say, you're not going to, it's going to be what it is. This is another standing vote by the tellers. I can consider it a reconsideration. I think it's a valid, somebody requests a second vote. That's the way we do things. They could have, in which case this is a second vote and this could be an error. The error would be rediscovered. Anybody could make an error anywhere. No, we've got the second vote, that's going to be it. You don't know what the outcome is. And we're not going to get this debate from the floor. Okay, we're done. Thank you. Do you have your count set?
Having some confusion in Section D. Can you ask people in Section D who are opposed to stand and stay standing and not moving?
What would you like to do, Kevin?
Everybody in Section D who is opposed, stand and don't leave. If you leave, I'm not counting you. You have to be in your seat for me to count. Yes, you do. Section D, I'm not counting if you're not in the seat. How's that?
You need to be, anybody who wants to, in that section, in Kevin's section, stand if you want to be counted, as opposed to Article 7. Mr. Hagan, you can't go up into the crowd if you're going to be doing that. No. Mr. Hagan, you can't sit down at this point until the vote's over.
This went on so long, Dave Hagan, Arlington Street, that I waited to use the bathroom. I thought my vote counted, and then I went. Now all of a sudden we have this fiasco.
Yeah. Sorry. You said no, Mr. Robinson?
44.
Well, let me call it out in order because I'll screw that up. Section A, 3. Section B, 4. Section C, 2. Section D,
44.
44. Section E, 20. Front. Nerese.
17.
No, the front. What did you count up front? Zero? 0. 24, 33, 17, 29, 18, 17, 3, 4. So it stayed about the same, still fails. Okay, I declare that Article 7 has failed. We are done with the special town meeting. Make a motion to go into the annual town meeting. Bear with me here for a moment. So, as we did with the special town meeting, I am going to start with a consent agenda. And as we did in the special town meeting, I'm going to read the list of articles. If anybody questions one of these articles, then I will try to deal with that question quickly. If it's going to take more conversation, if somebody needs to go more in depth, then we can just take that out of the consent agenda. So that's what we will be doing. So I move that the town vote to take out of order Articles 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and the four motions under Article 17 dealing with mandatory set-asides from the CPC funds. Those are all the majority vote articles. So seeing no questions, all those in favor of, pardon me? Sure, it's Articles 1, 2, 5, 7, 6, 7, and the four motions under Article 17 that are the set-asides from CPC. So no questions on those?
Question on 17.
Pardon me?
Question on 17.
What is your question on 17?
The question is, I'd like to have some details on the amounts that are being appropriated.
Those are the standard set-asides that we do every year. They're mandatory set-asides. Does that answer your question?
Okay, I'll let it go. Thank you.
Okay. So all in favor of, this is a majority vote, all in favor of the consent agenda part 1, raise your hands. All opposed? I declare that that passes by majority. So part 2 of the consent agenda, and this is, requires a 2/3 vote. I move that the town take out of order Articles 8 to 16, that they may be passed by consent in accordance with the motion shown on the 2024 Marshfield Annual Town Meeting consent agenda as made available to town meeting attendees.
I have questions.
Any particular ones that you want to question?
12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And I have substantial questions and comments. There's nothing in there that
No,
can
no,
be-
that's, if you question them,
And in
then,
fact, one of the articles is a complete, total misprint in the warrant.
okay,
It's a
so.
complete
do that.
error by the
Give me
planning
those numbers again. 12?
12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
So 12 to 16 you want to have taken out of the consent agenda.
Not in, yeah, it should not be in consent.
Yeah, I get you. All right, so I'll revise the motion to say, I move that the town vote to take out of order Articles 8, 9, 10, and 11 only in the consent agenda. All those in favor? It's a 2/3 vote. Raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that that passes by 2/3. And that takes care of our consent agenda. So the first, as we do with our special or our annual town meetings, the budget articles all go run out of the lottery. And then once we get past Article 6, so we'll get through, we'll start with Article 3, which is the budget. So I'm going to read the motion, and I'm going to call for Mr. Maresco to do his budget presentation, so everybody knows the budget presentation can take longer than needs be the 5 minutes, because there's a lot of information in there. Basically, there's no clock on the budget presentation, but we try to do it as quickly as possible. The school department will also make a budget presentation. We'll have a quick response from the advisory board, and then I will go through every item on the budget line by line so that you can question individual line items if you want more information about a particular one. So That being said, the Select Board moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $126,432,926, $113,500,958 general fund, plus $12,931,968 in enterprise funds to defray the charges, expenses, and salary obligations of the town, including without limitation, debt and interest, wages, salaries, reserve funds, and expenses for operations for the town departments and offices in the manner set forth in Article 3 of the April 22nd, 2024 annual town meeting warrant on pages 2 through 7 for fiscal year 2025, beginning on July 1st, 2024, and ending on June 30th, 2025. And to meet said appropriation, raise and appropriate $112,321,838 and transfer $1,179,120 for the total of $113,500,958. Yes? Can we go to the motion for, can we put up the motion for Article 3 of this annual town meeting? And to meet, I'm going to be starting back on the beginning of a paragraph, so. And to meet said appropriation, raise and appropriate $112,321,838 and transfer $1,179,120 for the total of $113,500,958. $113,500,958 for the general fund. Raise the sum of $110,840,046 from the FY25 tax levy and other receipts. Appropriate $1,179,120 from reserved for appropriation accounts as follows: $70,000 from the Waterways Improvement Fund, $38,000 from Wetland Protection Fund, $11,120 from licensing and keeping of dogs, $60,000 from cemetery perpetual care, $1 million from solar. Transfer for indirect costs, a total of $1,481,792, and that it's as $511,459 from wastewater enterprise funds user charges, $659,598 from water enterprise fund user charges, and $310,735 from solid waste enterprise user charges. Wastewater enterprise fund to raise and appropriate $3,300,830 for the wastewater direct cost water enterprise fund, to raise and appropriate $4,131,587 for water direct costs, and solid waste enterprise fund to raise and appropriate $5,499,551 for solid waste direct cost. Total enterprise funds, $12,931,968, and this is being submitted by the Select Board. Mr. Maresco.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'll be quick. I know the hour's getting late, but I think it's important that people understand this is probably the most significant item that we're all here for, and this is the funds that run our day-to-day governmental operation. So budgetary achievement overview, the FY25 budget provides a recommended increase of $1,923,368 for the school department, a 3.45% increase over FY24. Town government is increased by 4.47%, and we have maintained our workforce while repositioning resources to achieve that goal. We have accounted for COLAs and contracts in all divisions without using free cash. We continue our cost share agreement with the schools for our human resources division. We have recommended an increase to public safety of $339,693 over FY24 to continue to provide the best resources for the police department, fire department, and ambulance service for our residents. We continue to fund CTG ball field account by approximately $100,000, and that provided DPW with department flexibility to move overtime costs around the various divisions. We have not reduced any senior or veteran services. We continue to keep all municipal full-time and part-time positions funded at this time, all while managing continual increases in our pension costs, healthcare contributions, utility costs, gas and diesel fuel costs to run our town fleet. Revenue explanation. Revenues are being recommended at a 3.35% overall increase over the FY24 revenues. Our state aid figure is anticipated to be $18,657,095, or a 2.5% increase over FY24's aid. Total revenue projection for FY24, $115,404,910, an increase of $3,735,954, or 3.35%. The next slide, you'll see revenues. It's a chart just illustrates, you can see how the pie is divvied up, and you'll see it distributes the revenues. Next slide, expense explanation. The town department heads have put in requests only for what is truly needed to keep providing services to our town during these challenging times while dealing with rising inflation, utility costs, fuel costs, pension costs, and healthcare contributions. The centralized budget process we now have allows the town administrator and the select board to have the flexibility to reposition resources based on the needs presented during the budget hearings. The town has overcome last year's challenges with the hiring of a new town treasurer, Sean Strobel, and through the process there has been a wonderful collaboration between department heads and staff, and we've also hired a new town accountant, Meg LeMay. The treasurer collector and I have met with all department heads and have reviewed their financial requests needed to achieve the goals of the departments for our residents. We have again not had to implement any layoffs or furloughs, as many of our neighbors have, thanks to the support and recommendations of the select board. The following chart and department reviews will provide additional information. Total expense projected for FY25, $115,404,910, an increase of $3,718,387, or 3.33%. Next slide is just the pie chart for the expenses. Fixed cost, you'll see total fixed cost projected increased over FY24 by $718,410, or 3.33%. Next slide, debt management. Capital funds appropriated by borrowing or any other finance source may not be used for operational expenditures in any capacity. The town makes certain that these funds are kept separate and only used for the project for which it was appropriated by town meeting. The finance team, with guidance from the board, has a policy that does not allow inside debt costs to exceed 5% of our operating budget in total, nor excluded debt to exclude 10% of our operating budget in total. We have achieved both of these goals. And just for clarification, excluded debt is when we go to town meeting and ask, for instance, the school was excluded debt, where you have to vote at town meeting and then vote at the ballot box. And the other type of borrowing is stuff that we do standard every year to cover capital costs. In total, debt service has been reduced by $113,353.36 due to interest reductions because debt is being paid down, all while bonding our capital project. Debt exclusion passed November 19th of 2020 for the police station, DPW facility, senior center, addition, and seawalls. Because of our conservative plan of debt management and uniform annual payments, we have minimized our tax impact and will see the benefit of our conservative plan now and in the future. And you can take a look and see the difference right there. Total outside debt, it's 113,000 down. Next slide. Debt 2025, $8,976,748, and that is a total of the inside debt, which is $3,079,828, and the excluded debt, $5,896,919. Next slide, please. FY 2025 general government. Total general government proposed budget, $3,794,924. The general government has reduced discretionary spending and IT costs due to the purchase of Munis, built in a 2% projected contractual increase to the salary line items for union and bylaw employees, and the town began converting the financials to Munis on December 1st, 2022. The conversion has had its challenges, especially in being able to pull financial data in from our old software system into Munis. This was the main reason for the delay in the closing of the FY23 books with the state. The full conversion of Munis won't be completed until FY26. Total, $3,794,924, an increase of $387,312, or 11.37% over FY24. FY25, next slide please, FY25 public safety. Town continues to promote and provide funding for its public safety personnel, including funding for school resource officers at the high school, Furnace Brook Middle School, and elementary school. The FY25 budget increased public safety by 2.37%. ARPA funds have been allocated to purchase 2 ambulances and a fire truck. The fire department will be utilizing a grant to purchase an off-road fire truck. The police and fire departments continue to receive support through the capital budget process to purchase safety equipment and police vehicles. Public safety increase of $339,693, or 2.37%. FY25 education, next slide. The school department will receive a full 3.45% increase on their operational budget over FY24 for a total projected budget of $57,702,307, represent an increase of $1,923,368 over FY24. The schools have worked to improve handicapped accessibility and increase security for all of their schools to protect staff and children. The school department opened their new pre-K facility at 255 Furnace Street in September. Capital budget funding and free cash have continued to assist the schools in maintenance, IT, and security-related issues. And Superintendent Granatino, right after my presentation, will add some additional information on the school budget. Next slide, please. FY 2025 Public Works. The town continues to support our Public Works Department to provide the best service to our citizens. Public Works Department will see an increase of 2.83% increase over FY 25. We have worked with the Superintendent of Public Works to reposition the resources to provide additional funding for maintenance of the fleet. We continue to support and maintain the ball fields and park accounts, keeping our fields and play spaces in the best possible shape that our community and sports teams deserve. Public Works also receives support for the capital needs through the capital budget process for our general fund and through retained earnings from wastewater, water, and solid waste. The Select Board provided DPW $4 million of the county ARPA funds for 2 infrastructure projects, Surf Avenue, $1.7 million, and Plymouth Ave Pump Station, $2.3 million. Total commitment to the general fund for Public Works, $3,301,699, an increase of $90,914, or 2.83%. Next slide, please. Health and Human Services for FY 2025. The town has provided additional Council on Aging funding for goods and services, allowing our senior population to be active in education and social activities. Created a revolving fund for the Seaflower Cafe at the Senior Center, increased funding for the Board of Health agent, and continue to fund 1 part-time nurse to keep the town healthy during the aftermath of COVID and SRV. Total Health and Human Services budget increased by $6,608, or 0.43%. Next slide, please. Cultural Services, FY25. The library has taken on the task of increasing services by opening on Sunday once again to allow greater access to the library. Resources during the weekend, including a book drop-off and pickup program, public Wi-Fi, and many cultural programs for the students and the general public. The library rug was replaced during the winter of '23, great improvement for our residents. The town continues to support our library and fund other cultural services, including Clam Flats, Veterans Memorial, and the Historic Commission's efforts. These cultural services benefit us all. Total commitment to our library and cultural services is $1,113,012, an increase of $36,196, or 3.36% for FY '25. Next slide, please. Utilities. Town of Marshfield is committed to going green with a very aggressive implementation of photovoltaics, battery storage, charging stations, electric vehicles, LED lighting, and building enhancements. The town will be receiving additional energy credits with the most recent power purchase agreement, as well as placing a solar array field on the Cap landfill, photovoltaics on municipal buildings and carports, and parking lots, including schools, police, council on aging, and DPW. We'll be adding electric charging stations at the police, which are already there, council on aging, and DPW facilities to eliminate a single point failure in battery storage to hold photovoltaics. The town implemented aggregate electric with approval from the Mass Department of Public Utilities in FY '23. We have invested in LED lighting for school buildings, the fire station, boiler replacement at the central fire station, and Furnace Brook Middle School with Green Community Grant funding. The utility budget covers all town building costs for heat, electricity, and communication. The current funding level is $704,447, an increase of $215,886, or 44.19% increase, with the expectation that this will be decreased by energy credit offsets. And a lot of the increase was the additional floor space and lighting requirements for the new police station, the new DPW facility, and the expansion of the senior center. Next slide, please. Revenue, you can take a look at how the revenue is put together, and you'll see what comes in from property taxes, et cetera. Total revenue, $115,404,910. Next slide, please. You'll see expenses, total expenses for FY '25, $115,404,910, which is a balanced budget. Next slide, please. Closing summary. The FY 2025 budget, as presented, is balanced. The tax rate was reduced to $10.39 per thousand. The schools will receive a 3.45% increase of their FY '25 budget. School resource officers will be funded through the general fund SROs at the Marshfield High School, Furnace Brook Middle School, and elementary schools. The general government budget has increased by 11.37%. Town Hall elevator continues to create better access for our citizens who struggle with mobility issues, along with our newly renovated bathrooms. We continue to fund one-time part-time nurse for the Board of Health. We're continuing to fund a full-time assistant planner and assistant conservation agent to manage the very large caseload demands in those departments. We have funded COLAs and contracts without free cash usage. We continue to cost share with the schools for human resources. We have increased public safety funding by $339,693 for fire, police, to ensure our residents are safe and secure. We've continued funding CTG ball field accounts and have provided the DPW with flexibility to manage overtime costs. FY '25 budget will fund Robert Egan, who serves as our town weights and measures consultant, responsible for making sure all of our scales in town businesses are fair and accurate. The new DPW building capital project is completed. The new police station capital project is completed. Senior center renovations addition is completed. Seawalls, Brant Rock 1 and 2 have been completed, with other sections of Ocean Street and Brant Rock which have been repaired. Fire and ambulance supplies will be funded by the general fund. We will continue to look for ways to reduce costs on those projects as we move forward. DPW is investing in repairs and upgrades in our water and sewer infrastructure with $4 million in ARPA funding, cost savings to the taxpayers being used on Surf Ave, $1.7 million, Plymouth Ave, $2.3 million, and that project will get underway soon this spring. Dog Park opened in June of 2023 and is being enjoyed by many of our four-legged friends, thanks to the Stanton Foundation, the CPC funding, Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park, and the support of the Select Board. Modernization of Town Hall is underway with 6 new bathrooms, a new chamber, Select Board offices, Town Administrator office, repositioning and upgrades to other offices, including Veterans, Building, IT, Town Clerk, just to name a few. These improvements were funded with no additional cost to the taxpayers by using the unspent capital funds from the Senior Center project that was approved by town meeting to reposition those funds. Finally, we have continued to make up ground on our maintenance of our public buildings, thanks to the great work of our facility department and the support by town meeting for funding from free cash. Thank you.
Green light's still on. Hello? There we go. All right. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, Mr. Moresco. Thank you, everyone here. This is my 9th time doing this, and I will be brief. I always say that, and then I'm not, but I will try to be brief. I just want to take a second to thank the town meeting for the support it has given the schools over the past 9 years. We've been able to do quite a number of things with your support. There's always things that we can do more of, but the dollars that you have bestowed upon the school districts have been used wisely, has been used appropriately for our students, for our staff, and I know some of our staff are here in the audience. I want to recognize close to 700 people that utilize those supports, those resources in the classroom, and I just want to congratulate them and thank them for the work that they do. Our teachers, our support staff, everyone that works in the district does a great job, and it's been an honor working with them. Our FY25 budget, Mr. Moresco alluded to some of the items. It is just simply I'm going to look through here, since I can't see that, is a financial expression of our educational program of the school department, and it mirrors the challenges and priorities that confront the school system. We have a lot of priorities, we have a lot of challenges. We do the best we can with what we have, and we appreciate everything that we've received. Next slide. We try to tie all of our items on our budget, anything that we ask for, to our 4 pillars of our strategic plan. We implemented a new plan last spring. Our 4 pillars are on equity, belonging, and wellness, teaching, learning, and leading, community engagement and communications, management and operations. So anything that we spend ties back to these pillars. And it's been our motto, our impetus for what we do for the last 9 years, and Mr. Miller in the business office makes sure that the dollars that we have are helping support these efforts. Next slide. Our subcommittee, our budget subcommittee, is comprised of Mr. Costello and Ms. Stetson Campbell from the school committee, myself, Dr. Martin, my assistant superintendent, Tom Miller, our assistant superintendent for business and finance, and Amy Scalaro, our SPED director and director of pupil personnel. Next slide. This is just a quick rundown of the past, I think, 10 years of budgets. We've ranged anywhere from 1.24% increase to 3.09 3 years ago. And I think the average is around 2.7 that we've received on a yearly basis. So each year our budget goes up just under 3% a year. And again, we appreciate that support. Because of those numbers, if you go to the next slide. Again, last year we received a 3% increase. Because of that, we were able to add a few items built into our budget, and they're on the next page. We met the contractual obligations of all of our CBAs, our collective bargaining agreements. We settled 5 contracts last year with the union, and the dollars that we've had in our budget have been able to support those contractual obligations. We've met the staffing needs to ensure the optimal learning environments. Our class sizes, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school, are probably some of the lowest in the region, and we're proud of that, and we can only do that with the support of the town meeting. We transitioned into the second year of our new math program at the elementary level and our new math and science program at the middle school. We added an additional literacy coach system-wide. We instituted a position to support our special education office. We provided elementary schools with a new social worker, and we supported the district with a full-time substitute nurse. Next slide. Also, last fall in town meeting, we received, along with the town, $250,000 in extra funding for our maintenance and facilities department. Next slide. This is the breakdown of this year, and obviously we don't go through our entire budget book, but this gives you an idea of where the numbers are coming from, and this is a little convoluted. I'm sorry, it doesn't look like that on my slides, so I'll see. Sorry about that. I don't know how that happened. So our FY24 number, our current number is $55,778,939. Our projected salary increases are 1.7 79415, or 3.19% increase. That's a little higher than what we've had in the past. The averages for salary increases over the years have been around 1.4, and this year it's a little higher, 1.7. But again, that's attributable to the new contracts that we just signed. And when you look at the next section, our operational increases, the increase in our budget this year is due mainly to the increases that we have in our operational increases, and these are our operational expenses, I should say. And these are really oftentimes out of our hands. So when you look there, it's broken down into special education out-of-district tuition, which went up 1.1 million, 1,137,964. One of the reasons that happened was the state, DESE, allowed for private schools that work with students with special needs that can't be met in the district. We have a handful of folks that go out into these out-of-district placements, but they were allowed to increase their costs to us by 14%. And many of them did. Not all of them did, but some did. And so with that 14% increase, it really upped our cost for out-of-district placement. Also, special education contracted transportation went up $320,000. Our utilities went up, and this was a town issue as well, $300,000. Our regular transportation contract was an increase of just over $47,000. Our vocational tuition went down $41,000, but our homeless transportation increased by $100,000. So when you add that up, typically our operational increases over the last 5 years averaged $378,000. This year it's $1,863,736. So when you see just our level service budget, if we didn't add anything, if we didn't change any programs, we would have that number of $59,422,090. But a huge part of that increase is on those operational increases that we don't have control over. And usually we have needs-based enhancements, programs, staff, things that we want to add to augment our programs to support our students. This year, because of where we're at, only with our level service budget, we knew that we had about $600,000 worth of things that we would have liked to have added to make our schools even better. We did not add that into this budget number. So we really have a level service budget at $59,422,090. But in working with Town Hall, they've been great to work with Mr. Maresco and his team. We went back and forth over the winter, and we came up with a number of $57,702,307, which would be a 3.45% increase. Now, obviously, our costs are at about 6.5%, and we're getting 3.45%. So we have to make that up, and we will do that on our own. Typically, there's a delta between what we get and what our costs are, and we're able to work through that, oftentimes through positions that might be retired or resigned, and we don't backfill some of them. Just to give you an idea, I know we talk about class sizes a lot, and again, our class sizes are exceptional. At the elementary level, in approximately the last 20 years, Mr. Miller, our number of classes have gone down by 30, meaning that because the enrollment has gone down. We're not blind to that. Our enrollment in the last about 8-10 years has gone down about 600 students. But over the last 20 years, we have 30 fewer elementary classes. So that's where in the past we've been able to save money if the budget number doesn't match what our costs really add up to. And we're going to have to do some of that. Mr. Miller is very good at re-engineering to make sure that, again, we still have the staff and support that we need, but it'll find other ways to help us find a way to close that gap of about $1.7 million. Next slide. Again, this is just our financial plan. Usually I would have the items, just to give you an idea of what some of those items may have been if we were able to do it, was additional after-school help at the high school and the middle school. We were looking to add a district-wide mental health coordinator. We're looking to add another social worker at the elementary school, as well as a math coach at the middle school, a literacy coach at the elementary, a reading specialist, a 0.5, a half-time reading specialist at the elementary, a tech integration specialist, 2 of them at the middle school and high school, and some more administrative support at the middle school. So that would have added up to about $622,000 additional. But we knew with the level services where that number was, adding another $600,000 with the numbers that we knew, we see the revenue that the town is bringing in, and that just wasn't going to be feasible. So ideally, we try to find ways to work some of these positions in, and it's going to be a lot tougher this year to do that. But our goal is to meet our initial needs in our level service budget. Next slide. Again, there's still some things. I mean, House 1 is out there. As you know, the House and the Senate are going to be debating over the next month on the budget. We don't know what our circuit breaker number is. That's money that we can use for extraordinary costs in special education. And the good thing about that is oftentimes that number can be rolled over into to the next year. So if we don't have some of those costs now, we can use it to help support our next year's budget. We don't know that number yet. We do have a few, some of our smaller units still have to negotiate new contracts. We're always looking for state and federal grants. The local revenue forecast is pretty much set now, but sometimes that changes, and we know that, and that impacts us and impacts the town usually in the fall when we have the special town meeting. And then there's always changes in some of our special education student service costs, as well as enrollment, although we have a pretty good idea of what our enrollment is for next year, and we have that figured into this process. One other thing that's out there is the state is debating in the budget process the per pupil expenditures that they give us. We get about $35, Mr. Miller, $30 per student. There's a proposal in the House budget, and the Senate might have a higher number, I'm not positive, but the proposal is to have that be $105 per student that goes to every student that we have in Marshfield. That would add up to just under $300,000 additional if that makes it through the joint conference committee of the budget process at the State House. Next slide. That is it. It's pretty simple. It's a straightforward process here. Again, we know the deal that is being foisted upon communities all over the place. You see towns in Hanover with 50 people getting laid off. In Braintree, that number is even higher. In Brockton, we're looking in the hundreds. We're trying to avoid any of that happening here in Marshfield. Again, we look at positions that might not have to be refilled before we do anything else. But again, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to meet the needs of your students, your children. That's our job, and we try to do it as best we can. And again, I appreciate all the support that you've given us this year and in years past, and we're going to do, with whatever numbers we get, the best we can with those dollars. Thank you.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go through each line of the budget that you see in your warrant. There was one correction that was made. If you look at your errata sheet, that the education appropriation went up by $250,000. So there's a revised number there, 57,702,307. So that's just a note so that when we come across that, that will be a revised number. So I'm just going to read down the line. If anybody has a question, you can just call out question. We'll make a note on all of those. We'll vote on the ones that weren't questioned. We'll come back and vote and discuss each of the questioned ones, and then we'll vote on them at the end for the total article. Moderator, $300. Thank you very much. Select Board, elected, let me move this over. Select Board, elected officials, 3417, personnel, 459,680, total, or expenses, I'm sorry, 356,213 for a total of 819,310. Accounting, personnel, 250,564, expenses, 92,35 for a total of 259,799. Assessors, elected officials, 3687, personnel, 24351, expenses, 95,700, total, 339,738. Treasurer collector, personnel, 552,713, expenses, 215,550, total, 768,263. Legal, 125, total, 125. Human Resources, personnel, 112,936, expenses 12,500 for a total of 125,436. MSIT, personnel, 289,368. Expenses, 243,000 for a total of 532,368. Town clerk, elected official, 89,747. Personnel, 113,529. Expenses, 5,000 for a total of 208,003. Question. Election, personnel, 59,888. Expenses, 31,300. Total, 91,188. Got the question on election. Conservation, personnel, 238,124. Expenses, 13,605 for a total of 251,729. Planning board, elected officials, 1,120. Personnel, 202,856. Expenses, 2,800 for a total of 206,776. Zoning Board of Appeals personnel, 64,614. Expenses, 2,400. Total, 67,014. Total government expense, 37,94. 3,794,924. Police Department personnel, 6,823,470. Expenses, 204,832 for a total of 7,028,302. Question on police. Fire, personnel, 6,397,974. Expenses, 490,118 for a total of 6,888,092. Building Department, personnel, 373,777. Expenses, 79,40 for a total of 381,717. Sealer of weights, $5,000 for a total of $5,000. Animal control, personnel, 129,421. Expenses, 25,162 for a total of 154,583. Harbor Master, personnel, 152,000. Question on Harbor Master? Okay. Harbor Master, personnel is 152,000. Expenses, 38,454. Debt capital, 13,840 for a total of 204,294. Public safety total is 14,661,988. Schools, the revised number in the schools is 57,702,307. DPW, elected officials, 2,180. Personnel, 183,168. Expenses, 12,899. Total, 198,247. DPW engineering, personnel, 172,885. Expenses, 25,987 for a total of 198,872. Highway, 933,996 for personnel. Expenses, 157,741 for a total of 1,091,737. Maintenance, personnel is 293,691. Expenses are 236,784 for a total of 534,75. Question on maintenance. Cemetery trees and greens, personnel 657,555. Expenses 228,617 for a total of 886,172. Fuel 396,196. Total 396,196. DPW total is 3,301,699. Board of Health, elected officials 1,460, personnel 404,591, expenses 24,004, total of 430,055. Animal inspector, personnel $10,000, total $10,000. Council on Aging, personnel 539,597, expenses 38,597 for a total of $78,194. Veteran Services, personnel is $170,002. Expenses is $349,000 for a total of $519,002. Health and Human Services total is $1,537,251. Culture and Recreation Library, personnel $721,284. Expenses $181,154 for a total of $904,438. $902,438. I misspoke. The numbers start to blur after a while. Recreation, personnel $165,374 for a total of $165,374. Beach, nada. Veterans Memorials, personnel, 0. Expenses, $24,320 for a total of $24,320. Historical Commission, expenses, $3,880, total $3,880. Clam Flats, personnel, pardon me? Question on Clam Flats? Somebody question Clam Flats? Yes. Okay. Great. It's one that I always like to have questioned. Clam Flats personnel, $16,000, expenses, $1,000, total $17,000. Culture and Rec total, $1,113,012. Fixed costs. Reserve fund, $100,000. Facilities, personnel, $249,522. Expenses, $137,50 for a total of $382,772. Snow removal, $107,100. Expenses, $292,900 for a total of $400,000. Question? Yeah, that should be in DPW, shouldn't it? Okay. General insurance, $1,384,189. Retirement, $9,127,811. Health and life insurance, $8,634,810. Unemployment comp, $50,000. Medicare, $1,325,000. Audit OPED payroll, $108,500. Fixed cost totals, $21,510,582. Debt, non-excluded, $3,079,829. Excluded, $5,896,919. Other, $100,000 for a total of $9,076,748. State assessments, $1,293,952. County assessments, $110,000 for a total of $1,403,952. Other, unclassified personnel, $1,000. Expenses, $30,000, total of $31,000. Utilities, $704,447. ATM appropriation, $67,000. Overlay, $500,000 for a total of $1,304,447. And the total is slightly off because we added the money into the school budget by $250,000. So, I think at 115, 404,910. My math is good. Go ahead. $113,500,958. Can you say that number to the mic, please?
$113,500,958.
Okay. So that's the total. So this.
So I'll repeat the number, and then Mr. Moderator, if it's okay, I can probably shed some light for the question. So the total is $113,500,958. The reason that number has been reduced a little is because you remove state and county assessment and overlay line items.
Okay. What were you questioning? Insurance and if you can get to a mic, because I can't quite hear you. If you can get her mic going, please.
Okay, thank you. Sealer weights,
Okay. And what was the other one? Was there another one you wanted to question?
general insurance.
General insurance, okay.
That's all.
Okay. So I'm going to call for a vote on all of, we'll get back to that. I'm going to go for a vote on all of the unquestioned items. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of the unquestioned items, please raise your hand. All those opposed, I declare that all of the unquestioned items passed. So I'm going to start from the beginning, and we'll go to every questioned item. If I miss a question, if you had called out a question, I just didn't pick it up, just sing out, and we'll go to it and get it done. The first question we had was on town clerk. Mr. Pasevich.
Hi.
Microphone, please.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. You know, what I'm trying to do is I really want to help the town clerk. She needs more help in the office. And I asked this question yesterday. What can we do to adjust her appropriation to at least make the money available so that a decision could be made? Is that possible? I'm looking for some opinion, maybe town council or somebody.
Let me.
So town meeting does have some authority to adjust some of the budget numbers, and we usually apply a rule of 10% on an individual line item. Otherwise, the change in the appropriation is beyond the scope of the article. If you're asking to adjust salaries and expenses of the assistants in the town clerk's office, that's a problem because we have collective bargaining agreements with unions, and we cannot direct deal with people that are in the union. We have to negotiate that with the unions. So I would warn you to consider, or I'd ask you, not warn you, ask you to consider not adjusting that. I did hear that as a result of the vote last night, that the selectmen are going to treat this, the direction and the vote last night as a resolution, are going to take it up as an agenda item after the town meeting. I think it would be a really appropriate thing to do for you to express your concern at that meeting, and perhaps if we get together, all of us, we can negotiate something that the select board can approve, the union can approve, and perhaps we could fund it. The only item, therefore, that you could adjust is the salary to the town clerk by upwards of 10%.
May I ask, I believe one of the positions that was mentioned in the wish list was a part-time clerk. Is that considered union? It's like an assistant, a part-time assistant, like a 15-hour-a-week job.
I don't know. Mr. Maresco, do you know if the part-time clerk would be a union position, or is that a non-union position?
It was a part-time assistant. I forget the
Yeah.
actual title that was given in the article. I see Nerese has her hand up, by the way.
Oh, can Nerese? You want mine?
I'm sorry, part-time receptionist at 15 hours a week.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Maresco had already offered Terry Wenning the position of Assistant Town Clerk, and you guys already acknowledged that. So Terry has been promoted to that position, and what that actually does in my office is if I get hit by a bus, she automatically takes over my position and she can do everything that I can do. So if I get hit by a bus and I don't come back, you guys are safe, which is extremely important. So she's taken care of, and that actually was one of my major concerns. The other person has to do with running the office in a competent manner, and you can't do that with 10% of what I have for a budget right now. So it will take movement from the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, excuse me.
Okay, so may I ask, Mr. Moderator, so the designation of Ms. Wenning as the Assistant Town Clerk, did that involve a salary change?
Pardon me?
Did that involve a salary change by designating Ms. Wenning the new assistant, by designating a...
The selectmen are
official-
shaking their heads, yes.
Oh, it did. Does anybody know how much that was?
Pardon me?
Does anybody know what the dollar amount of that was? And
The-
when does it
The
go into...
additional, Mr. Moderator, I could answer that question.
Yep.
$3,100 for the remainder of this fiscal year. It was, the town meeting already approved that.
All right, thank you for taking some movement on that.
So that takes care of the question on the town clerk.
And, okay.
And there was a question also on election.
Yeah, just a quick one. The jump from 46.3 to 91,188, is that basically the presidential impact? All right, thank you.
Okay. Election is covered. We're on to police department.
That was me, Martine Anderson, Weathervane Lane. I have two items. Number one, I was wondering how much electricity is being generated through the solar panels on the parking areas down at the police department. All of them have been sheltered and they have solar panels on the top. And I've been curious, anywhere those kinds of situations are featured, how much of the cost of lighting those parking lots is covered by the solar generation of power?
Can anybody answer that question? Mr. Russell, could you have any sense of what that would be?
Fred Russell, Facilities Director, 92 Marshall Street. The solar array sends power to the grid. We don't use the power on site. We have an interconnection agreement. We do have a lease with Next Grid. It's $25,000 a year.
It sends $25,000 worth back into the grid?
It's a lease. It's a lease. We rent. They rent the land from us for $25,000 a year.
If there's a benefit to the police department by having solar panels, is that correct?
They did put undermount lights that are fed off those solar panels, but most of the power goes to the interconnection agreement into the grid.
It goes into the grid, but what is the benefit to the police department?
The police department, if I can
does-
step into this.
Does it offset the cost of electricity to the police department?
The police department get $25,000 for leasing the land for the solar panels, and
Thank
that's
you.
what the revenue that they pick up is the $25,000.
I also think that probably covers a little bit of what the problem with the school solar array is. Nobody's talked about the benefits of, solar power. Okay, my next question is another issue. There is no street sign on proprietors. You don't know whether it's a drive or a street or a way or whatever. It is one of the busiest roads and streets in Marshfield. And I've been trying to get a street sign there.
That's beyond the scope of the article that we're talking
Okay, well,
about.
it would be within their expenses, I think, I called the police department, and they did notify the Department of Transportation for me, which was very nice, and I appreciated that, just to let everybody know that just take a look. Next time you're down by Roach Brothers, you won't see a street sign. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that takes care of police, I believe. Sealer of weights and measures. You had a question.
Oh, you want in here. There you go.
I really want to know what the sealer of weights and measures does, the person, whoever it is, in the supermarkets, in the stores. And the things I'm talking about are when the computer isn't set correctly for the prices in the store, and people go through with their supermarket order, and they're paying all kinds of money that they shouldn't be paying because the things they've got in their wagon are on sale, and they've got a digital coupon even, and they're not getting it.
Okay, I'm not sure that actually falls under sealer and weights and measures, but let's see if we can find out. Mr. Maresco.
Mr. Moderator, I can answer that question. Bob Egan is our sailor of weights and measures. He visits every single establishment, including our DPW tipping scale, to make sure that it accurately weighs, and he puts a little seal. So if you go to the gas station, you'll see the seals. If they allowed you at Shaw's and Roach Brothers behind the deli counter, you would see the green, I think they're green labels with his name on them. If there's an issue, you think there's an issue, at the supermarket, you go to the courtesy booth, and they usually make the arrangement on the electronic coupons.
I also want to know about the credit card scanners. Are they being inspected by somebody in this town?
I don't believe that covers under the sealer of weights and measures. I think that may be the
That's a
police
measure.
department, but different person.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We are on to Harbor Master. There was a question on Harbor Master.
Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street. I apologize, I was looking at the wrong page for that one.
Okay, no question?
No, not on that one, it's on another Harbor Master one.
Okay. Not a problem. Next question was on DPW maintenance.
That was me. I really think that the street sign Martine Anderson, needs to be part of the maintenance of our roadways and streets. Mia Ragazza doesn't have a street sign on
Okay.
it, and the reason I care is you have to go all the way to the end of Proprietors and take a left in order to find my place. Now, you'll notice that I'm fairly aged, and there are many people that try to find me who don't even use GPS anymore, so it's kind of hard for me to tell them how to find where I live.
Okay.
Thank you.
So whoever's in charge of the signs, check in with Martine. She's got
I've
a
been
need for
sending
some.
I've been sending letters all over the place
Yeah.
for a very long time.
Well, you've now reached out to every town department here, so you're all set. Okay, the next question item was the clam flats.
Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street. Yeah, I would like to know what clam flats are and how they went up from 944 2 years ago to 17,000 in 2025.
Harbor Master DeMayo, can you answer that question?
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, town meeting floor. Mike DeMayo, Marshal, Harbor Master, and Shellfish Constable. As you know, back in 2020, 2021, the North and South River flats were closed due to a marine fisheries closure, which was the FDA mandate. There was a lot of effort that went into grassroots help from folks from Marshfield and Situate to get the clam flats back open. Since that time, the Shellfish Constable, meaning me, had to help draft a CAMP, which is a conditionally approved management plan for the North and South Rivers, basically monitoring all the water quality, clams that come out of there, clams that we propagate into the South and North Rivers through shellfish mitigation programs, water sampling, and also, as you've seen in the papers, and we had 3 closures of this due to the Rockland sewer plant. that affects the North River as well. So all those efforts and my time go into the shellfish funds, shellfish salaries. I'd be happy to answer any more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next question was on snow removal. You shouldn't walk away.
Sorry. Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street. I'm wondering, the snow removal money when we don't have snow, is it being used for something else? Is it going back into general fund? What did happen with it like this past year?
Sean?
Mr.
I'm
Moderator.
going to ask your superintendent to get up.
Yeah, I thought people would want to know.
Quickly, it goes back to the general fund.
So if it doesn't get used, it goes back to the general fund. One of the things, if people don't know this, the snow and ice budget, so it's $400,000 here, that's sort of a placeholder. And if we have a really snowy winter and it's 800,000, we pay 800,000. This is just kind of a, we've got some money in the kitty, it's kind of average for what it does. And then if you've got a year where you need a lot, more gets appropriated. If you need less, you don't use it, and then it goes back to general fund.
So just one other comment. I just would like to float the idea that if we can look at past years and weather patterns and maybe start taking a percentage of that isn't being used and putting it into money for street repairs rather than just putting it back into the general fund, seeing that it's in the budget anyway.
Okay,
Just
the
thinking
point,
out
the
of the
point
box
is,
a little bit. So
I
just
think,
an
and this
idea.
is from my old days as a selectman. So we appropriate $400,000, and then a year comes along and it's $700,000. So we're tapping into the general fund for another $300,000
Right. No, I
to pay
realize,
that.
yeah.
So on the years when it's lean, and even on the lean years, you're still doing ice mitigation and sanding and that type of thing.
Maybe we could just look at
I think
like
it's
the
sort of
last
fair
5
to-
years and,
Yeah.
you know,
I think by and
kind of see
large-
what the trend is.
I think by and large, you're probably spending more than $400,000 on almost every year. But
Okay.
climate change, maybe it's different, maybe it's not the same, but sure.
Thank you.
Mr.
Sure.
Moria,
Hey,
may
Sean.
I? Just to elaborate on that, we are allowed to deficit spend legally in the state of Massachusetts. And from what I'm told, we're not supposed to lower that number at all because that would hinder the process if we did have the deficit spend in the future.
Yep. Yeah, it's worked so far, so. General insurance was the last question item.
Okay, general insurance sounds like a very vague category to me. So I'd like to make a specific comment as far as insurance goes in this town. If you're paying insurance for something for any year, you should have a logbook. You should pay in how much write in how much insurance you're paying for what, including things like roofs and anything else that you have paid insurance for. Then keep the logbooks, don't throw them away. So if you go back 20 years or 30 or 40, you will have a logbook that will tell you what insurance you have, what you paid for it, and what you're supposed to get if you have a reason to collect on it.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. So that's the end of our questioned items. Did you have a question on another item?
No, I just needed what is MISIT?
It's the IT department.
What is
Information
MIS?
systems.
Oh, okay. And the only other question, I didn't know where to bring this up. What does $1 million solar mean up there? What did that pay for?
Mr. Maresco.
Mr. Moderator, Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. So any money that we get in through photovoltaics, we have some private developments that pay the town. That comes into the to a special revenue account, and then we pull that money down to go into the budget.
I'm sorry, is that income or a cost?
That is income, sir.
Okay, it's $1 million even?
That's how much we drew down. So the motion,
okay.
that article, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's.
Mr. Moderator, I just want to answer,
Yeah.
if I may. A gentleman earlier at the microphone asked about the part-time positions, and I wanted to check so I can answer that question now. Yes, all part-time positions are under collective bargaining.
Okay. Okay, we've answered all of our questions, so I'm going to move that we now vote on the question items, and then I'm going to go for another vote on the entire article. So all of the questioned items, which is the town clerk, election, police, sealer and weights, harbor master, DPW maintenance, clam flat, snow removal, and general insurance. All in favor of those articles, please raise your hand. All opposed? Declare that they all have passed, and so I am going to call for a motion on Article 3 in total. All in favor of Article 3 as amended, because we changed that amount with the school department. Raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that Article 3 passes. So we are on to the capital budget article, which is Article 4. So doing a little forecasting here. It's 10 o'clock. We typically cannot take up any more business after 10:30 unless we suspend the rules. After we get done with the capital budget committee hearing, or article rather, we have Articles 12 through 16, which were questioned as planning board articles, and then we've got Article 17 and a couple of citizen petition articles that may be a bit to stretch into trying to finish tonight. But as we get done with the capital budget, we'll see where we stand for time. I just want to kind of let everybody know where we're at. What? Yeah. Thursday night. We get tomorrow off for good behavior, but you have to come back on Thursday. So I don't like rushing articles. If there were some, lightweight articles at the end, but I don't like rushing citizen petition articles, and I don't like rushing articles that question. So we'll see where we get to. Okay, we're in Article 4. Capital Budget Committee moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $5,447,010 to pay for the capital outlay set forth in the chart set forth in the Article 4 of the April 22, 2024 annual town meeting warrant under the Capital Budget Committee recommends column, and to meet said appropriation that the town authorize the treasurer collector with the approval of the select board to borrow the sum of $4,497,010 under the applicable provisions of Chapter 44 of the Massachusetts General Laws or any other enabling authority, and to issue notes and bonds relating thereto, and further that any premium received upon sale of bonds or notes approved by this vote, unless any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of the bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount, and further that the sum of $665,000 be transferred from wastewater enterprise retained earnings, and the sum of $315,000 be transferred from water enterprise retained earnings. And this is submitted by the Capital Budget Committee, and it was going to require a 2/3 vote for passage when it comes up because of borrowing. Is somebody here from Capital Budget to make the presentation? Mr. Moresco? Are you making it?
Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. I do not see our chair or vice chair or anyone from Capital Budget. I'm happy to quickly go through it. Capital budget items that are requested to be funded. Police, $265,000 for tasers. Police, $185,000 for police cruisers. Fire Department, $135,000 for Vision 21 replacement. Fire, $37,539. That is
I don't think you need to read them all,
Okay.
'cause I'm going to read them.
Okay.
So people can question. But if you can give just a brief overview.
These are items that the various departments, after meeting with them, have requested.
Okay. Advisory
Capital budget
Board,
voted, and pardon me, Mr. Chair, Mr. Moderator, the capital budget did vote to support these.
okay. Advisory Board? Who's doing capital on, capital budget? I've kind of lost my motion in this one.
I thought I had a chance to talk to Tom over there. Tom Scollins, Advisory Board. The board unanimously supports the capital budget recommendations for the various department budgets.
Okay. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to read each line. If somebody's got a question, call out. We'll question that. We'll vote for the unquestioned items, and we'll go back and vote the questioned items. So, Police Department, replace AEDs, pads, and batteries for 60, that was not recommended. Police Department, police cruisers, $185,000. Police Department tasers, $265,800. Total Police Department, $450,800. Fire Department, balance owed on 2 ambulances, $37,539. Vision 21 replacement, $135,000 for a total of $172,539. Harbor Master. There is nothing approved for the Harbor Master. Schools, school roof replacement. Is that our? Yes, please.
That was not a vote that was taken by the school committee. That's not on our capital plan. I believe that's just a misprint.
Okay, so we're striking the roof replacement.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, point of order. So
Yes,
the
sir.
3 million, so, okay, just to backtrack. So the town, we put that on. The 3,557,471 is the borrowing. We would have to borrow to do the roofs. What was voted down was taking the money out of stabilization. We still have an opportunity to do the roofs if town meeting supports us borrowing in July. The problem is now we're 4 months behind, so it'll actually put us a year behind.
Okay, but I think it's pretty clear the town meeting voted down that article and we reconsidered it, so we can't really bring that back up again.
Like ruling on town council.
What? Yeah, we did the article one, we voted it once, we voted it a second time. That's essentially reconsideration. It can't be brought up again tonight because it's put in a different category, doesn't make it something that we can vote on again. So unfortunately, we cannot do that. Schools, MHS, Furnace Brook, digital signage, $73,200 on the signage.
Somebody has a question.
Question on the signage. Okay. Schools, address accessibility issues in South River Elementary School, 168, there's a question. Conservation, $25,000 for tree removal on conservation land. DPW engineering, NPDES permit. I want to make sure I get this right because we have some amended language here. NPDES permit, BMP implementation, $50,000. DPW, and then there's some DPW ones that were in your errata sheet. There's a DPW collection system repair for $200,000. DPW wastewater mobile auxiliary pump for $200,000. DPW wastewater Chevrolet Colorado pickup 192 for $45,000. DPW Chevrolet Colorado pickup number 95 for $45,000. DPW wastewater RAS and WS sludge valves for $75,000. DPW wastewater aeration air blower rebuild and enclosure for $100,000. DPW water meter replacement $100,000. Water main upgrades $120,000. Well cleaning and rehab $50,000. Replace water pickup $45,000. DPW water total $315,000. So those were on your errata sheet. Council on Aging, there's nothing, and we went through the DPW wastewater. So the total of what we have is $477, $10. Question? It may. Yeah, I didn't do the math on that. We can ask that to be checked. Excuse us just a moment. I don't know any way not to. I'll talk to you. Sorry about that. So what's the new number? Do we have a? Yeah, that's where I got the number. But we have to take out the 3 million. I don't know. I would think so. Right? So if that was in this
These
sheet,
are these are only the DPW requests.
that's the total at the bottom.
So you subtract 3.5. Take that total number and we subtract 771.
Hmm?
And I think that's the figure you get.
199, yeah, okay. So, a couple little math items going on there. So the total ends up being 919,539 is the total.
9 million?
1,919,539. That's the total with the roof removed.
With the roof removed.
Yes.
So can we just be clear that when we're voting on this, that it's clearly stated that this is no longer in what we're voting?
I removed the roof from the vote.
Okay, I just want to be sure because it just seems like this shouldn't have been placed over here also.
Right.
Sorry for the lack of trust, but
That's okay.
thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go for a vote on the, we're going to vote on the questioned items now. All those in favor? Go ahead, sure.
Martin Clary, Ellis Avenue, Wrexham. Thank you for your patience. On the wastewater, I'd like to ask the catch basins for the wastewater, particularly on my street, Ellis Avenue, with down the very end, there seems to be an excessive amount of water. I know we've had heavy rains and everything else too, but it's beyond the sewer and it keeps on coming down into my yard area. And I've had to use 2 portable pumps, one on the window well casing, and also another one in the stair casing going downstairs. I was wondering if somebody could come down and take a look at the water catch basins down in that area and clean that up for me, please.
Mr. Patterson.
Mr. Moriarty, yes, I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't hear that one.
Okay, I'm going to a vote.
He said yes. Oh,
I'm going to a vote.
Did you say yes?
Yes, he said yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
All right, so I'm calling for a vote on all of the questioned capital budget articles. I'm going to a vote. We're done. And this is a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of Article 4 on the questioned articles, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that that passes by 2/3. So I'm going to take a total vote on Article 4. Again, this is a 2/3 vote. All in favor of Article 4, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that that passes by 2/3. So we're into the lottery at this point. It is, we're in the lottery. Oh, 12, okay. It is, and these are all linked, so this is 12 through 16 because they're all like articles. Bear with me here for just a moment as I clean my deck. Article 12, the planning board moves. Article 12 is set forth.
Mr. Moderator, I have a point of order. Did we miss the questioning process in regards to the last article, Article 4?
Which, no, we went through that, we voted it.
You were the ones that people asked questions? I had 2 questions in regards to the signage and the
Oh, did I miss one?
accessibility issues on South River, and that was never brought up.
You did question that, so we'll take those 2 questions. Bear with me here for a moment, because I do remember you questioned that, and I missed it, so. What's your question on the signage?
Eric Kelly, Peace and Path. I would like to know what they are in regards to the digital signs, what they're talking about.
Mr. Miller.
Tom Miller, 89 Ames Way, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Finance. Mr. Kelly, Mr. Moderator, those are the 2 digital signs. One is on Forest Street, one is on Route 139 on the Marshfield High School entrances. If you've been by there, they have failed. They were originally put in as sort of the old, light bright sort of signs, and they've failed. They've been out there for almost 11 years now. We have the estimate here is from South Shore Signs that had put up that nice Marshfield Fair sign there. That you see on 3A. The estimate here is to replace those 2 signs with a similar sign and then do some masonry work to enhance that area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, just a question, because I guess when I was looking at it, it applied to a couple others, but when it says borrowing supported by taxes, what is that? What do they mean by that?
Mr. Maresco?
It means exactly what you said. So we're going to go to borrow, and we pay the note back through revenues produced by taxes.
All right, so is this a set period of time?
Depending on how long we go out for. So it's kind of a process. So depending on the article that we're borrowing, then the select board votes on the life expectancy, and then that goes into the calculation of how long you want to go out to borrow for, and then that's how you figure out what your payments will be.
So you haven't determined that yet, is what my understanding.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And then there was a question on accessibility issues with South River School.
Yes, could I get some information on that, please?
What's your question?
So the question would be, in regards to the way this is written, address accessibility issues. So what are the, in regards to how this is written, how are they addressing it, I guess, are they just trying to come up with a plan? Do they already have a plan? I'm trying to get it.
Fred Russell, Facilities Director, 92 Marginal Street. With this is actually got phase 1 and 2 of South River School. We're going to put a handicap ramp in the center entrance and enlarging the landing area in front of the doors. And we're also going to make a boys' room and a girls' room ADA accessible.
All right, thank you.
Okay. We're going to call for a vote on those two articles, and then I'm going to re-vote Article 4 after we do that. So on the two questioned articles, do you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the right place for it, but I'm just wondering if there's any vehicle by which town meeting would allow the select board to consider splitting the schools up and bringing it back as separate asks on Thursday night.
I don't know what your question would be. What's your question? I don't understand.
Residents had asked if they would split them up.
Split up what?
The schools that needed the roof work, to split up that $3 million. So I don't know if there's any way that
the warrant is published to warn people of what is going to be discussed. So
there's no way to
we
do that.
defeated the two school roof articles were defeated. We can't bring up on Thursday part of that article. The article's been dispensed with. I mean, there was some question up here. We were talking about it, whether the funding, because this was in the special or the annual instead of the special, whether we could reconsider the roof issue again. You can only talk about it once in a night, and my decision is that it was done and it failed.
Okay.
So we can't bring something back that hasn't been warned with due process. So
Thank you.
yeah, I think that's. So we're going to vote those two articles for the schools. Again, 2/3 vote. This is on Article 4. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that those pass. And I'm going to take another vote on the total of Article 4, including those two items that I had missed that time. All those in favor of Article 4, raise your hand. All opposed? That passes. So we are on to, it is now 10:25. So I suppose one of the questions, Mr. Pasevich, is do you have a lot of conversation on your articles, do you think? I don't want to rush anybody, so.
No, there is potentially a lot of discussion on those articles, and I've been told the lights go off at 11, so.
Well, we might be able to get somebody to flip the switch for us. But that being said, if we're going to be here until the wee hours of the morning, I think it's better to have everybody approach things fresh on Thursday.
Yeah, I motion to recess.
Okay. I just want to make sure. And I also don't like to rush people who have citizens petition articles that spend a lot of time preparing. So at this point, thank you. So at this point, I'm going to adjourn this meeting, and we'll have to reconvene at 7 o'clock on Thursday night.